Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rewind episode number 11 for Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. This is our last episode of the year. Oh my goblins. Welcome, everyone. My name is Marty Sleva, as always, joined by Darren Mooney, Jesse Schwab, making his debut on the show, Jesse Galena, and, of course, behind the scenes, producer Eric, with the spoofs and goofs and Christmas shenanigans. Welcome, everyone. For this last episode of the year, we decided to get a little festive, do a little holiday spirit. One of us dressed up for the holidays, which is great. Thank you, Jesse. I'm not gonna say which Jesse it was, but it was the one wearing seasons grievings. Is that what it says?
Yeah, it says, and then there's like a black metal Santa. Hang on, I'll show you.
I love it. That is incredible.
I made this myself. I just cut these out.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you just make a shirt. I thought you have to have a license to make a shirt.
No, I made this whole thing. Well, not this part. This I bought at a thrift store, but like all of this I made.
The shoulders, I definitely don't know how to curve a shoulder on the shirt. That seems like something a clothier needs to do. But our main topic today, we're going to be discussing holiday movies. Our favorites are the ones that are come up in common conversation. Maybe some off the beaten path ones. Maybe some ones we don't like. So maybe, hopefully, by the end of this, you have a recommendation for a couple things to toss on the queue over the next few weeks. We'll also touch on a couple news bits, including the Golden Globes noms, the news that Chris Evans, once again, is coming back to the MCU, baby.
Rolling back.
Things we've been watching. I'm gonna be honest. If you put enough zeros at the end of a paycheck, I'll go back to any job I've ever had.
Do you reckon Chris Hemsworth feels left out because he just never left?
That's the problem. He sees that scene with like Deadpool crying over his body. He's like, "You gotta kill me so I can come back for more, buddy." How are you guys doing in this final stretch of the year, heading towards the holiday season?
Busy. Oh my gosh, why is everything happening right now?
It's because we truncate an entire month's worth of things into 2 weeks and pretend it's like we're winding down for the year. And I'm like, but it's so busy.
You got to wind up to wind down.
Yeah.
And then you spend 2 weeks slowly getting rid of that stress, and then it's like, oh, it's time to go back to work, hit the ground running, everyone.
That's exactly that's just like what we do. It's like we don't take days off; we just move things to a different date.
Sure.
So everything just gets crunched.
Yeah, your workload remains consistent. If you choose to take a day off, that's on you, buddy.
But what if you just do new things like go to PAX Unplugged and then you don't get to do any of your normal stuff while you're there?
But don't worry, it's waiting for you when it gets back, Jesse.
Oh, it is. So is the stack of business cards of people I met that I have to email now.
Just get yourself an intern. It's that easy.
Oh, is that? Oh, well,
yeah. It's that simple. Even
that exposure, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I hear the conversion rate for that is great in USD. So,
even I feel like the entertainment industry used to, I guess behind the scenes, it kind of shuts down for, production. Kind of shuts down for the holidays, like famously, like Thanksgiving to the beginning of January is a very slow time in terms of production. But you wouldn't know that from the outside because new movies are still coming out, new movies and new streaming shows, and then the big movies of the year that are hopefully going to be in awards contention are finally getting wider releases so that folks can see them.
But enough about Craven.
But no, have you gotten to see Craven yet?
I'm seeing it tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
I got an email from Sony that was very much, this is the only screening. And it's like, the only screening for critics? Like, this is the only screening. It's like, okay.
We've decided we're not even going to release this guy. We're just going to show it to you and be like, I know you wanted to see this.
But it's got the rhino. It's got the horn, you know.
Unless it's my Giamatti rhino.
Alejandro Nivallo being like, I have lived my entire life for this.
Bring me the rhino
movies. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we also got Golden Globe nominations yesterday morning. They dropped, which is sort of the not the first big award show of the season, but the first major televised one that oftentimes acts as a kind of bellwether for where the Oscars are going to go. And Darren, I know you're clued into this kind of stuff, and so I was just curious if there was anything from these nominations that stood out to you in one way or another.
Well, Blitz's Dead on Arrival is basically the big news for me, which is the Saoirse Ronan, Steve McQueen World War II movie, where there was a bit of ambiguity about whether that would endure in large part thanks to Saoirse Ronan being an Oscar darling, and the answer seems to be no. That does mean her performance nomination is probably going to be a sole nomination for the Outrun. Other than that, I think like the awards are fairly. I mean, it's Wicked is now a front runner, which is quite something to say about the year. Yeah, there we go. Look at that enthusiasm, Marty. Look at that enthusiasm.
What's happening? Why?
I feel like it's too soon. I don't know. That's just me.
I mean, too soon for
Too
what?
soon
Like
for Wicked, or like too soon for awards in general?
For like, I don't know, for like Wicked to win awards. Like, I don't know, you gotta let that thing marinate for like a few months.
There are movies that are like The Brutalist hasn't even like opened wide, and it's.
I look at like stuff like A Real Pain and A Complete Unknown and Nickel Boys at September at 5, and I'm like, I want to see these movies. Stop talking about them. That's the one thing Wicked has going for it is at least I can go to a theater and pay money to see it, even though I did, and I don't want to do it again.
I was about to say, like, what do you want? What do you want to talk about with Wicked? What is bursting to get out in terms of your opinion of Wicked?
Like, this is going to be like last year we had Oppenheimer and Barbie as these are two movies that are getting a bunch of nominations that they're populist votes. They each made $1 billion. People saw them. And this year that version of that is just Wicked. It's just Wicked and then a bunch of small movies. Some of them are really good. Oh, Dune Part 2. Yeah, sorry. I feel like Wicked has taken the populist spot from Dune Part 2 and it makes me sad.
I mean, like, I'm gonna be honest, this award season I am kind of numb. Where it's like last year I was very excited, and it wasn't just that it was obviously like Barbenheimer, which was great because it's two big, popular, successful movies in the race together, which are fun to have in conversation with another. But it was also films like, you had, for example, The Zone of Interest, which is like a bizarre movie and like a deeply uncomfortable movie, and a movie that, while dealing with like awards-friendly fare and being a movie about the Holocaust, does it in a way that is like abrasive and confrontational. You had like Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, for example. You had Poor Things, which is a deeply, deeply odd movie, whatever you may think of it. And they're all kind of interesting to think about. Even Anatomy of a Fall, which is this kind of quirky French legal drama. But like this year, it really does seem like, and I will say, I'll put my hands up, I have not seen A Real Pain yet. I have not seen The Brutalist yet. But it does seem like it's a solid 3-star awards season. And that's very hard to get excited about, where it's like, I didn't love Anora the way that other people seem to have loved Anora. I did like The Substance. That's not going to get a Best Picture nomination. I love Dune. That's not going to be a serious contender in the way that Oppenheimer or even Everything Everywhere All at Once was the year before. And it's just like I'm seeing these movies like Sing Sing, which is charming and fine. I'm seeing movies like Wicked, which is fine. I'm seeing movies, and they're not great. And I don't really come out of them going, well, now I have a horse that I'm backing in the race. I go, well, I guess it's another contender for the year,
I also didn't come out of The Substance thinking it's a musical or a comedy.
You don't think it was a comedy? I think it's fairly overtly a comedy, to give it credit, to be fair where it's due. Don't think it's a serious, scorching socio-political drama.
The Golden Globe categorization of these things is dumb.
Deadpool is not a comedy, apparently, which is true, technically true, I would argue.
Yeah, it's legally not a comedy. There's always a bit of I don't want to say awards fraud, but there's like, ooh, what can we like? If you look at it from this angle and squint a little bit,
it reminds me back in like high school when when you're going to graduate, they're like, oh, you can apply to all these like scholarships for college and stuff, and someone would just be like, oh, I'm going to apply for the farmer scholarship because no one else is going to apply to it, and then they're going to enter some random school with this giant scholarship.
Yeah, I eat corn. I could get the farmer's scholarship.
I crack corn and I don't care.
I don't care. No, give me that money. School is very expensive. I would also not say Challengers is either a musical or a comedy.
I mean, again, this is, as you mentioned, this is basically category fraud, where the idea is that you go where there is a gap. Like, very famously, Ridley Scott's The Martian was down as a comedy at the Golden Globes, but that kept it in the awards conversation. And so you you sense where there is room to maneuver and where to put yourself. And you see it even with actors, where like there was, was it Kate Winslet the year she won her Oscar, which is 2008, where she was campaigning. Yeah. She campaigned as a supporting actress in The Reader and a lead actress in Revolutionary Road. And credit where credit's due, even though most of the awards bodies went along with that and gave her 2 nominations and 1 win, the Oscars, to their credit, saw through that and were like, no, you are the lead in The Reader.
You are the titular reader.
Yeah, you are. No. Ray Fiennes is the reader.
Oh, my mistake.
I don't
I'm
mean
gonna be
to
honest, I've
spoil
never
the
seen The
movie.
Reader.
Yeah,
Never saw The Reader. Took a stab in the dark.
it's okay. It's
Had a
okay.
50-50 shot.
She committed war crimes because she's illiterate. It's fine.
There you go.
Look, anybody could make those mistakes. Not knowing right from wrong, not being able to read, they are functionally the same thing.
Wait.
Really?
So maybe she was the reader, but it was like ironic.
Ironic title.
Oh, look at the reader over here because she doesn't know how to read. She just knows how to do war crimes.
Mrs. Reader committing all their war. Like, I will say that is a terrible movie. It is a bad movie. It is like a morally questionable movie.
Wasn't that one that that was like a Weinstein favorite, right?
Of course it was. It was like it was the end of the Weinstein era, kind of around the era the Weinstein Company began to implode, and then obviously you get into the Me Too allegations. But the thing about The Reader is there is one moment in that movie that really works emotionally, which is because she can't read, Ralph Fiennes narrates books to her and sends her books on tape while she's in prison standing trial for war crimes. And it sounds absurd, but it is deeply, deeply sweet and moving as she sits in her cell and listens to Ralph Fiennes narrating Wuthering Heights to her or whatever.
That was history's first podcast.
Yeah.
I mean,
he did an ad read halfway through for Hello Fresh.
Like, I get this is based off of like ancient Greece where everything's either like a drama or a comedy, but like, I don't know, man. It ain't 700 BC anymore. Like we have a little more genres nowadays.
Yeah, I'm
like there's still like that stigma for like horror films, unless it's
sure
it's a psychological thriller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or elevated horror. Now they're trying,
Yeah.
prestige horror, that kind of thing. Where it's like, fucking, just like what you like put your whole chest into it. Yeah, and famously for TV shows, they do this. Like The Bear was a comedy, right? I think
because it's a half hour long. Like again, this is a separate TV classification issue where we don't believe dramas can be half an hour long. So anything that is half an hour long gets classed by awards bodies as a comedy. Mm-hmm. There's a really good SNL sketch with Tom Hanks in there, where it's like it is the must-see ABC comedy of the year called The Depressives. It's great.
But it's a half hour, so it's fine.
It's
The Depressives. I like that. So yeah, we'll have more. The Globes are I think shortly after we come back from break. I think early to mid.
Who's hosting
January.
This year to kind of to get a sense of where the Globes are?
Question. I do not know, because the Globes also had their own scandal a couple of years ago with sort of the whole thing being corrupt and run by payola, pretty much.
You don't
say. An extremely old and extremely white and extremely male judging body. Yeah.
And an extremely creepy judging body. Like you have stories of like Scarlett Johansson talking about like what it was like to be interviewed by the members of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association and the questions that they would ask her. The famous, like there are a couple of famous stories. Is it what's her name? Zia can't remember her name, but the most infamously awful win in the history of the Globes was because the actress in question's husband flew them all out to Vegas on the house and gave them a weekend of just gambling in his casino in order to secure her a win. And it's Emily in Paris, because of course that's how you pronounce that TV show. Yeah. They famously paid for all members of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association to spend 2 weeks in Paris, all expenses paid, in order to interview the cast and crew.
Listen, if you could think of an easier way to do that, like if you think of some kind of technology where you could just get on a computer and speak to someone far away using video, then I'd like to hear it.
I think it should be like politics, where they go door to door telling people, "Will you please vote for my movie?"
Yeah.
You want Martin Scorsese just knocking on your
real
door?
Grassroots. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Hollywood is very dumb. So there you go. I think that's what we learned.
And awards don't matter except when the people I like win.
Exactly. That's we're going over the same thing with the Game Awards, which are this week as well, where it's like it does not matter, except that it matters. It matters to me. It doesn't really matter to me, but it fake matters to me.
Because there are people that's like Larian Studios has been a really good, that was last year, but whatever. Yeah. Like they're a really good studio, have been a good studio for a long time, but Baldur's Gate 3 is what got them the most attention. So you want them to win because you're like, but they deserve it. They've been doing this for so long.
Oh yeah, and you get that equivalent in movies and TV all the time, where it's kind of like the makeup Oscar, where it's like, well, Leo didn't really deserve it for The Revenant, but it's kind of nuts that he didn't have one before that. And Scorsese has made 20 better movies than The Departed, but I'm glad he got it for The Departed. So
the way that it works is like it cascades. Yeah, like it cascades. So like you don't give Denzel Washington the Oscar for Glory because you're giving it to Sean Connery because he's due.
Yeah,
you don't give the Oscar to Denzel for, I can't remember what the other big one is. Maybe it's Philadelphia. Malcolm X. That's what it is, because Al Pacino is due. And then finally, by the time you get around to give it to him, people are like, no, but that year it should have gone to Russell Crowe. And it's like, you just end up with this self-perpetuating cycle where everybody's collecting a, oops, we're sorry we missed you award.
Yeah. You got to start giving babies awards. Best baby in movies.
What if we just start doing 2 per category? Just be like co-winners. Boom.
Hey, you're all winners this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
but in a more literal way, only 2 of you are.
Yeah.
I mean, Suicide Squad is an award-winning film, and they will take that right on the Blu-ray box.
Oscar-winning film, Jesse. Yeah. Not any award. Oscar.
Yeah.
Oh, not a Razzie?
Makeup and special effects.
Makeup and special effects. They won it before. Like Warner's won for a DCU film before Marvel won for a Marvel Studios film. And it was Pia Zadora, by the way, whose partner took the entire Golden Globes to Hollywood to Las Vegas for a long weekend, and secured a win for Butterfly, which also won her Worst Actress at the Razzies that same year.
Should have flew them out to Vegas. They flew them out to Atlantic City. That was the problem. No one wants to go there. So we'll be covering more of these award shows and these movies as they become actually available for human beings to see, which will be exciting. I'm imagining a lot of these. I mean, some of these have already entered like VOD, stuff like you can watch. I think Conclave is already on VOD, and obviously Dune Part 2 has been out forever. But the rest of these,
We Live in Time is as well, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Have you gotten to see the Dylan movie yet? Complete Unknown?
I have not. It remains a complete unknown to me. I will say I am very excited to see Boyd Holbrook as Johnny Cash. Because it's like James Mangold revisiting Johnny Cash, and apparently couldn't talk Joaquin into coming back for a cameo. Yeah. But I'm I'm a Boyd boy. I'm here for that.
A Boyd boy. I like myself a man Holbrook, if I'm being honest.
Boy.
I don't even know if that makes sense. And then moving on to the other news bit before we head on to our main topic. Just wanted to get your temperature on the fact that The Wrap has reported that Chris Evans is set to return for Avengers Doomsday alongside, which is the first of the 2 upcoming Avengers movies, along with Secret Wars, is set to return to that movie, slated for summer 2026, alongside Robert Downey Jr., who we know is playing Doctor Doom, and Chris Evans, they said, in a currently unknown role. So whether that is the Steve Rogers we know, or some sort of a variant, or
Johnny
a good
Storm.
variant, or a bad variant, or if they're going to do another Johnny Storm, goof them up like they did in.
They should just bring in like the character from Knives Out in a sweater. Like that should be. They should be like Ransom. Do you
remember that movie Push, which was a superhero movie that wasn't based on anything? That was probably in the MCU. Yeah.
That was a very PS3 era movie.
That is, that and Jumper.
Jumper's with Samuel L. Jackson, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of jumping in that movie. Hayden Christensen's in it. He's doing jumping. Darren, what did you make of this news? Do you think this is inspired casting, or are you just like grown? This is what's happening.
I feel like, we as a nation have failed Chris Evans. Now, to be fair, Chris Evans has failed himself. But, like, there was a while when he was in interesting movies. Like, Gifted, which is not a superhero movie despite its title, where he's a single dad raising this little girl, is very charming. We mentioned, like, he's really good in Knives Out, for example. And it's just really frustrating that, there it is with McKenna Grace. It's really frustrating that, like, he never seemed to get a chance to launch as the movie star that it seems like he wanted to be. Like, there was a while where he was taking interesting character roles, like The Iceman with Michael Shannon, for example. Again, a movie that sounds like a superhero but is not a superhero movie. Snowpiercer he was in as well. Like, and it just seems like either... Bong Joon-ho, like the guy who won Best Director and Best Picture at the Oscars a couple of years later. And it's like, it feels like either we failed him or he just gave up. Because, like, this would have been surprising to me immediately after he left. It is not surprising to me now in the wake of movies like we mentioned Ghosted, like his cameo in Free Guy, like his appearance in Deadpool and Wolverine, like his role in Red One. This is very much of a piece with that, and it feels like he has kind of resigned himself to being that sort of guy now, where his job is to be in the IP payoff project and presumably to collect hundreds of millions of dollars over doing all of these. So I don't really feel too bad about him. Sorry, Jesse.
I find the thing with like Chris Evans is that, like, kind of you were saying, a lot of his films are kind of like hits and misses. And then when he finally found that Captain America role, it really clicked for him. And while I like the Captain America character, it is kind of like, if you step back and look, it is kind of like milquetoast American hero kind of character. So like, how do you convert that to like a launching point for something bigger, unless he's like fully like producing and directing all of his like passion projects?
I thought Knives Out did a very good job of that, where like so much of Knives Out is him playing directly against this idea of him as Captain America, as the all-American hero. And in fact, like, I would argue, this IP project phase that he's in, where he's doing movies like Ghosted, where he's doing movies like Red One, even his appearance in Deadpool and Wolverine is playing against the Captain America archetype. It's arguably connecting back to his earlier days, where he was the kind of the fast-talking, snarky guy. Like, even in, say, Danny Boyle's Sunshine, a movie that is great, and I think he is great in, and is another example of like the more interesting career that Chris Evans could have had. But he's this snarky, sarcastic, like bitter, slightly twisted sort of guy, but who's fundamentally good underneath it all. I feel like Captain America is the exception rather than the rule in his filmography. But I do like it. It just seems like there's got to be something. Maybe he's addicted to house extensions.
But
maybe he likes buying dinosaur skulls.
But like, do you think that's gonna like transfer over to him coming back to the MCU? Like, he's like Marvel has already been putting like a really big effort into having like new Captain America. This is Captain America now, kind of moving Chris Evans on from that. And I feel like the same thing, Robert Downey Jr., like, they wouldn't come back for nothing, right? I feel like they would like actually have to have like a good say in like their character direction.
But I think both Jessies are correct here. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I think the thing about this is I was having a conversation with a film critic yesterday before the news broke. And we were talking about, I can't remember how it came up, but we were talking specifically about like Disney's slate next year, because obviously Disney have had an incredible third quarter. Like, they've had an incredible second quarter, incredible third quarter. Like, they had a rough start of the year, but then they have the 2 highest grossing movies of the year. They will probably have the 3 highest grossing movies of the year when Moana 2 is done. Even like the Mufasa movie, which is not doing as well as Sonic, they're going to be pretty happy.
This is like, I'm not doing this again. I paid off my debt. Time to make another one.
My mortgage is settled. I finally paid it down. But like, it does feel like they're having a very good Q4, but it does feel like next year Disney are going to have a very rough Q1 and Q2 again, where you've got like Snow White, and it does feel like they have kind of written off the Captain America Brave New World film. Like, to your point, I'm watching the news that's trickling out about like Doomsday and Secret Wars, and I do get the sense of that being, well, everything after Endgame was a mistake. Let's just write it off and pretend that never happened. And that means that like everything between now and then feels like a holding pattern. Everything between Deadpool and Wolverine and, arguably Fantastic Four, but arguably even beyond that, Doomsday and Secret Wars, is just like, well, we were already in development on these when we realized how screwed we were. And like, I do feel like really bad for Anthony Mackie, who's like, I'm Captain America. I am like a black man who is one of the most important and iconic characters in like American culture, and Marvel's like, yeah, but we got the real one coming back, right? And it's like, it's just so cynical and so exhausting. And I know they'll go out of their way to be clear in the messaging that, oh no, there are 2 Captain Americas or whatever, but it's hard not to like immediately before you release the movie starring Anthony Mackie as Captain America to go, don't worry, Chris Evans is coming back. Feels like it immediately undercuts that movie in a very significant way.
Yeah, and it's a bummer that this movie is granted, we don't know what this movie is yet, and it's just that these early reports are all, hey, remember all of your favorites from 2012? They're back. Instead of being like, yeah, this is going to be led by, Kate Bishop and Miss Marvel and Shang-Chi and the characters we've been building up since Endgame. And so it does just feel like Endgame felt like a really well-deserved victory lap. And this feels like the same thing, but it's no longer deserved.
At least Disney's credit is that
Disney credit.
Well, it's an issue with them, but also just like, the response to their work the last few years, that a lot of it hasn't really been clicking with people. There's so many films that just people say, all this post Endgame stuff has been a mistake. Well, that's both sides of the argument there. Whereas like someone like Anthony Mackie, like sure, like Falcon's an important character, but it's the Falcon. Personally, when you say Captain America, I'm invested in Chris Evans as Captain America from the first Avenger, from Winter Soldier. So when you're trying to like replace this character by saying, "Oh, we're replacing with a different actor," in the same universe, it doesn't come across as like, "Oh, we're recasting James Bond as like Roger Moore or someone." And also, we don't even know who Chris Evans is gonna play. Like, he could be like fair. Captain Doom, Captain Doom 2.
Could be what? Captain, was it Captain Hydra? Is the character?
But it's also Steve Rogers. And again, like this is one of those things that gives me pause, where like this happened exactly in the comics, which was they wrote Steve Rogers out, they replaced him with the Falcon with Sam Wilson. And the arc was basically, we're revealing that Steve Rogers was quote unquote Hydra Cap. It was also 2016, 2017. So the subtext of the revelation of, the big blonde Ubermensch is actually a fascist. The subtext was not particularly subtle at that moment in time, but you have this immediate blowback and audience reaction to the very concept of the idea of it. And immediately you end up with a case where Sam Wilson as Captain America is immediately underwritten and marginalized, where the big moment in, and again, spoilers for an event from 7 years ago now. So if you are reading Captain America comics in continuity, I've only gotten to like 1975, may want to jump ahead 30 seconds here. But like the climax of that event seems like initially it's going to build to a moment of Sam Wilson facing down like Steve Rogers and like really claiming the mantle for himself. But it takes a late minute swerve to actually Sam Wilson opens a dimension fissure and the real Steve Rogers, who is just, again, the classic blonde, blue-eyed kind of Steve Rogers, steps through and punches the evil one. So I mean, that's kind of why I'm skeptical, because I've seen this stuff happen before and it always feels like it is kind of a heavy swing back in a direction away from where we came that's just repeating what came before, I don't know.
Have the exact same feeling about all of that. Like that it really does seem like that, and that it feels, I know the phrase creatively bankrupt gets thrown around a lot, but it also feels like that. Like they've tried some things that didn't work, and rather than like, hey, you know what? Let's learn and move forward, they just go, no. Remember this, as we were talking about before. And Marty, what you were saying with the victory lap. Yeah, it does feel like that, but the stadium's already empty. Like,
no, the stadium's going to be full. It's going to make just checking my calculations, it's going to make $1 bajillion, I believe. Is these movies will make money. The question is, I don't think anything between now and then, with the possible exception of Fantastic Four, is going to do particularly well. And I feel sorry.
It's like, I mean, obviously I don't know, but it feels like people like, the more legacy cast, like Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., like they wouldn't be around for, a ton more films, right? So I'm hoping they use this moment to, bring them back to propel the next generation. So it feels like they just basically removed everyone from that previous generation and had the new one. And I think this is a good opportunity for them to ease over it a bit smoother for people to get to really latch onto.
I mean, I think also, and again, this is where outside knowledge is kind of creeping in, but like Secret Wars, and obviously assuming they're not talking about the classic toy commercial from the 1980s, but the recent Secret Wars written by Jonathan Hickman served as kind of a soft reboot of the Marvel universe in comics, as much as Marvel have ever had a soft reboot. And my gut feeling is that Secret Wars is going to serve something similar in cinema. And what it will do is it will allow them to introduce the X-Men, who are characters who have already had several film and television franchises, except this will be Marvel and Disney get to completely own this take on it. And it does feel like, to me, that's not going to give space to like characters like you mentioned, Kate Bishop as Hawkeye, Riri Williams as Ironheart, to Letitia Wright as Black Panther, unfortunately. But like this sort of stuff, it won't give space to the characters who were supposed to be given room to grow, where the assumption was that they would get to be these characters and they would get to have their own arc in the same way that Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor had their own arc. And like to Marty's point, like I wrote about this 2 or 3 years ago back on the old site, but like who are the heroes of the multiverse saga. Like, you can point to the Infinity Saga and you can say Captain America, Iron Man are the two leads, and Thor is basically like a third lead of that like run of movies. And obviously there are movies that they're not in, like Guardians or whatever, or Ant-Man. But by and large, the spine of that arc kind of runs through their movies. You know, it runs through Iron Man 3 as much as it runs through Captain America Civil War, as much as it runs through, you know, that sort of stuff. Or even like Thor Ragnarok with its teasing of Thanos. But like, for the movies since, for the TV show since, and there has been a lot of it, who are the heroes? Who are our three leads of the multiverse saga going into Doomsday and Secret Wars? Like, I know going into Infinity War and Endgame, we joke about Thanos being the protagonist of Infinity War, and he kind of is, but also the two protagonists of that movie are Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. They're the two characters who kind of flank Thanos narratively.
And they're two characters that there was an entire movie with tearing them apart and pitting them against each other, which we don't have those things over the past 5 years, right?
Yeah, it's tough when you have, you know, you basically have like your young Avengers like Ironheart and She-Hulk. Does that count? And then you have, you know, like the people that kind of survived from the last one, like Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange, and you have like all like the new characters like Shang-Chi. And then like everyone else who they might introduce. So yeah, it's kind of hard to like kind of look at certain like flagships of this and try and have like a focused narrative, especially when you're like main villain. You know, the actor's kind of problematic, so they had to change course.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, like there were other problems with Kang. Like, I don't want to minimize the Jonathan Majors stuff,
sure.
But it's not like I was going, man, I'm really sad that we're losing Kang. I was so invested in the narrative of Kang, you know?
When he got the shit kicked out of him in the Ant-Man movie, that's the worst Ant-Man movie.
It's like, also, oh my god, Ant-Man almost wasn't able to deal with this problem by himself. Sorry.
No, there's also, it's the reason the Marvel's first three phases work is because we revisited those characters almost every other year, and they had solo movies that were one every 3 years or so, and then we had a team up movie almost every 3 years, and then we had Civil War, which was ostensibly an Avengers movie, and then we had 2 Avengers movies. The fact that there hasn't been an Avengers movie since Endgame, that there wasn't, that they didn't do like a mini roll up into a small scale Avengers movie in last year or something, like that felt like that would have just made so much sense leading up to this, to be like, oh, okay, this is what this team looks like. At this point, it's just a bunch of disparate parts who've had one thing in the last 5 years, whether it's a movie or whether it's a series, and most of those were not good. You know, some of them were good, some of them were like Loki, but Loki was just kind of its own thing. It didn't really have to fuck with anything else, which
it was
one
Loki.
reason.
I'm like, and this is why I'm skeptical of the bringing back of Robert Downey Jr. and the bringing back of Chris Evans to tie this all in a nice little bow, which is like, admittedly, I'll put my hands up and say I'm not a huge fan of Deadpool and Wolverine. I know a lot of people were, I know a lot of people liked it. I know I'm in a minority on that, and that's okay. But one of my big issues with Deadpool and Wolverine was the usage of Hugh Jackman as an emotional shortcut, where the movie claims that technically it's not the same Logan that you saw in the movie Logan. He comes from a universe that has a different bunch of numbers in its designation. But you are meant to look at Hugh Jackman and see, oh, that is Wolverine as I've watched in all these movies, even if it's not technically, even if the character's state is not technically. He is clearly having the same arc. He clearly has the same arc that he had in Logan, where he failed the X-Men and he feels guilty and he's looking to atone for it. He clearly has the same relationship with X-23. Even the dinner table scene at the end of Deadpool and Wolverine is the dinner table scene from the middle of Logan. And like, my fear is that we look at these movies where we have no protagonists going into Secret Wars and Doomsday, and we instead have Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans now. And the shortcut will be, well, look, Cap and Iron Man were the protagonists of the last 2 big Avengers movies, and technically, these aren't Captain America and Iron Man. They either come from different universes, they are different characters, but the audience will see Robert Downey Jr. and they will see Chris Evans, and that will be the enough emotionally to get this movie across the line. And that's my big fear going into this.
They will absolutely have something, whether it's, you know, Doctor Doom or Chris Evans playing, I don't know, Mephisto, where they have some sort of part in one of the Avengers movies where like, you were Iron Man, you were one of us, and him and
I hate you 3000.
Him dying as like, I don't know, like Return of the Jedi Vader is just like, oh yes, I found the error of my ways. Like it's gonna be that. It's gonna be that.
Yeah. Sorry, I know that's a downer, and I apologize for
Robert
it.
Downer Jr.
Robert Downer.
Robert Downer.
Yeah. Everything's fine with Marvel.
Well, I mean, these movies are going to make. They have the second biggest movie of the year this year, and these movies are all going to make like 1.6 to $2 billion. Like it's the.
But there's going to be several bombs along the way.
There are, but like nobody will care about those. Yeah, we've already forgotten about the Marvels. We've already forgotten about Quantum.
We've already put an asterisk in front of Thunderbolts. It's fine.
Which was clearly meant to be Dark Avengers. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that. Sorry.
We're not going to call it that.
They are all king.
Yeah. We are all king. I like that.
There you go.
Chris Evans is
all right. Oh God! Please don't make Chris Evans Kang. I don't want to deal with any of that. I don't want to deal with any of that.
Actually, I will take it back. If they do make him Kang, I'd be like,
he's done something interesting. I don't know if this is good, but it's interesting.
My Joker Folie à Deux reaction, which is I don't know what's going on here, but I kind of respect the commitment to it.
All right, moving on to hopefully a more festive topic, which is our main topic, which is holiday movies. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't sure what to ask for the thumbnail, so I just put 3 movies I like. Which include Batman Returns, A Muppet Christmas Carol, which A Christmas Carol, like one of my projects, if I ever learn how to edit video, is I want to make my own version of the Christmas Carol, but every scene is from a different version of the Christmas Carol.
You want a Steven Soderbergh Psycho's A Christmas Carol?
I do. I would love to. Yeah. So that's my goal. That's my goal for 2026 is to remake
Christmas Carol.
Remake Christmas Carol. One scene's from the Muppets, one scene's George C. Scott, one scene's the terrifying Robert Zemeckis version.
One scene is from the movie Carol starring Kate Blanchett inexplicably because it's set at Christmas.
It is a Christmas Carol movie. It's good. It's good.
It made me think Christmas Carol. I was going to show this off too. This is a VHS that's been in my family like forever of a television recording of Mickey Mouse's Christmas Carol.
That's a good one.
Wow. Like from, I don't know, if like the 80s or 90s with like all the commercials and everything, like pure television recording you watch is like every year.
Amazing.
And it is a classic. I need to get this like transferred.
It has one of my all-time favorite moments of a family being poor where they have to split a pea. So Mickey has to cut a pea into several slices. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, this family's super poor.
They were regular size, it'd be even more tragic.
And it also includes some of like the Goofy shorts too. Like Goofy learns how to ski.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah, there's a couple good animated Disney shorts. There's like Chip and Dale are in Mickey's Christmas tree, and like Pluto's losing his goddamn mind in the house. He's like, there are rodents in the house. Mickey, why don't you care?
They can think.
Yeah, exactly.
Why isn't Disney doing this stuff anymore? Like, this is the question. I suppose we know why, because these things don't make $1 billion. But still.
I watched Disney Plus has a few of those old animated shorts, and they had one. It's one that's just like Santa at the North Pole getting ready for Christmas and everything. And I fired it up, and it's like 7 minutes himself, or it's like 7 minutes total. And right beforehand, the big disclaimer of there are some culturally insensitive things in here. It was made at a different time. I'm like, oh no, what's going to happen in the 7 minutes? Santa. And it turns out some of the dolls and action figures that Santa creates in the workshop are stereotypical depictions of Native Americans and folks of Chinese descent. So some kids got some racist toys for Christmas, which, to be honest, when my dad was a kid, I think they got racist toys for Christmas. I think that was pretty spot on.
I collected the Warner Brothers used to release their Looney Tunes shorts on DVD. The Looney Tunes collections, really great collections, well worth recommending. And as they got later into the series, it was very obvious that they like had reached the point of like acceptable for mainstream audiences cartoons. And so like I remember when it was like the 4th collection, they'd have Whoopi Goldberg come out as soon as you put the DVD in the Blu-ray player or whatever, and Whoopi Goldberg would explain that the interest of historical accuracy, these cartoons are presented as they were. We as a culture have moved on significantly in the years since. Yeah, so basically, but it was read by a celebrity. I think like Ted Danson did one. I think like I don't know why maybe he was hanging out with Whoopi that day. Maybe they just decided to spice things up. Remember Hollywood's hottest couple, Ted Danson and Whoopi Goldberg?
How can I forget?
Ted Danson is a bad choice to come up and be like, "I was a different time. It's fine." That's a bad choice.
Possibly the whitest man in America.
I even heard one of them was Scott Bakula trying to find the next sleep home.
Yeah.
I gotta get to a better universe. What are annual rotations in the rotation for you guys? Jesse, G, do you have any personal favorites of Christmas movies? Even like things just tangentially, or just like fucking, I'm just watching this in December just for a reason to rewatch things every year.
I mean, I do have friends that do the extended version of Lord of the Rings every Christmas.
Yeah, those movies famously came out in the holiday season, so they felt like you'd see them in theaters, and then it's a nice
they read Christmas
12-hour
to me.
marathon.
But you were mentioning Muppet Christmas Carol. That was a classic when I was growing up. We would watch that every year, and like I legit forget other Christmas carols exist. Like when someone said, I think I was editing a movie video for you, Darren, and you would mention a thing for Christmas Carol, and I was like, oh yeah, and in my head I had already picked out the scene for it, and then in your notes you're like, if you want to use the Muppet Christmas Carol, and I was like, oh shit, that I didn't know there were other options. You're right. Okay, good.
Why do I sound like an NPR presenter in your head?
Because you're so professional. That's why.
Yeah. You obviously want the George C. Scott version. You don't want the Michael Caine version.
Now, if you are a Philistine, you can use the.
You always. I think it's part of it is because you sound very like polite and concerned. Like, I don't mean to trouble you, but if you want to use this clip, and it's like you're very polite about it, which is delightful. Every time I get notes on something you do. But yeah, like that, and also, has anyone seen Will Vinton's Claymation Christmas?
No.
He used to do the Rudolph things, didn't he?
Yeah, like the California Raisins, Rudolph, like he was
Rankin Bass?
huge. No, not Rankin Bass.
Okay.
That was a different one. But like he did one, or his studio, the Will Vinton Studios did one that had a like a Styracosaurus and a T-Rex called Herb and Rex, and they hosted the little thing, and it was a big claymation thing. And I love it, and I think I'm one of like 6 people that have seen it, and it's delightful, and I want more people to watch it.
What was it called again?
I've never seen this, but I fucking love these old these old animated things, whether it's the hand-drawn animation or whether it's like the Rankin Bass like stop animation.
Yeah.
Which I gotta say, Rankin Bass, I watched like all those the other year, and Rudolph's Shiny New Year is cracked.
Oh my gosh, their non-circulated ones are fever dreams. Have you seen the Pinocchio Saves Christmas?
I like that you guys are talking about like, oh, we got the underground ones,
the pure uncut ones. Yes.
Yeah, you gotta go to the dark web for this.
Like Rudolph's Shiny New Year, he has to like get his gang together and go to these like islands that are in different time periods to stop a condor from stopping the movement of time.
Yeah,
they are insane.
They are unhinged. Like I would love to watch some of these with people. They are wild.
This sounds great. And now we just get shit like Red One. Fucking being a Chris Evans, trying to jam a Christmas movie, a modern Christmas movie. No, that sounds incredible. I want to put that on my watch list.
Or like ones that like aren't like sometimes you ever watch a movie that it's not a Christmas movie, but you're like, this kind of feels like a Christmas movie. Like I watch Unfrosted recently, just as like a background movie, and I'm watching this, and every now and again I would look up like, what the heck? And I'm just thinking like, this feels like a Christmas movie. It is like whimsical. It is like oddly upbeat, and it's like a guy telling a story at a diner. Like I think this might be a Christmas movie, but instead of snow, it is frosting.
It's Pop-Tarts.
But they weren't frosted yet. They were those gross ass original
frosted. Yeah.
Who's frosted? Who's eating an unfrosted Pop-Tart like a savage? I mean, it also, most good Christmas movies have John Hamm and what's his name reprising their roles from Mad Men.
John Slater,
John Slattery.
John Slattery. You're right, John Slattery. Which one of those like, who is this for moments while I was watching that movie? The answer is Jesse, obviously. I apologize, but I was about to go, I think I have the target audience of this figured out, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, the cast of Mad Men have showed up. It's just Jerry Seinfeld is the audience.
That also came out right when I was wrapping up my rewatch of Mad Men. I'm like, what is happening? Did I summon this?
Continuity. It is in continuity, to be clear.
Yeah, I hope that Darren, I saw that you're rewatching Twin Peaks: The Return. I hope that's going to summon Coop and Laura Palmer to show up canonically
at my door.
Yeah, at your door, just start screaming in the middle of your street.
What day is it, boy?
Yeah, I feel like if Unfrosted might be on the low. If there's the spectrum of is it a Christmas? Obviously, there are things that are clearly Christmas or holiday movies, but then there's the spectrum, which I feel like Shane Black movies, Batman Returns, and Die Hard, famously, I feel like are three movies that people always argue are these Christmas movies or not. And I tend to always say
Prometheus.
I mean, it should be. He's got a tree on that ship.
He does, and it is a story about killing Jesus, apparently. In Ridley Scott's head, because of course that's not part of the text of the movie itself, but Ridley Scott was thinking about it a lot while making the movie.
Exactly. Are we all like? Is who's the one who's adamant that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie? Is that Jack?
I think it's Jack. I think that was when we had to make that argument. Myself and Omar put together a video making that argument.
Yeah, and I believe Jack was adamant that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
I feel
whoever
like
it is, they're wrong.
I feel like the argument for it is like that is a Christmas tradition, right?
Sure.
Like whether it's true or not, I think just like the discussion behind it is fun enough for like every year. Despite a lot of people like kind of rolling their eyes, be like, "Oh, do you think it's a Christmas movie?"
Yeah, but it's whatever puts you in the Christmas spirit is a Christmas movie. Like Santa's Sleigh is probably as much a Christmas movie as Die Hard, but I say it's a Christmas movie.
It's got Bill Goldberg.
It does have Bill Goldberg.
I mean,
most great Christmas movies have Bill Goldberg.
Famously, Bill Goldberg.
Not to put like too fine a point in it, but like obviously this was it Joel Silver? The reason why there was this huge spate of movies in the late 80s and early 90s that are big blockbusters, but are also coincidentally Christmas movies. So you're talking about like the Shane Black movies, like Lethal Weapon, for example, The Last Boy Scout, talk about Die Hard, talking about like Batman Returns, etc., etc. Why there was this big explosion was because this was the point where like VHS had become commercially viable. So the idea was that you would release the movie in the summer, which is where blockbusters went after
VHS
Jaws.
Out in like November,
December. There we go. The VHS lands in November, and you can remarket it as, there you go, as a Christmas movie and get people to pick up their copy of Die Hard, their copy of like Lethal Weapon, their copy of Batman Returns for Christmas, like 1988 through 1994 or whenever it was. It's like, it is. As much as I do think those are all Christmas movies, it is such a delightfully cynical business decision. I love it so much.
It's kind of genius, if I'm being honest. I appreciate it.
In an evil sort of way, yes.
Sure, yeah.
I see Casey in the chat saying, is Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights a Christmas movie?
Yeah, it's a holiday movie, holiday season movie.
Like, as someone who's a Jewish American, it's kind of the only like Hanukkah movie we got.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
I feel like actually, does the Apartment a Christmas movie or New Year's movie?
Yeah, The Apartment's absolutely a Christmas movie.
Okay.
Yeah, and a suicide movie. A lot of Christmas movies are also suicide movies.
Yeah, it's a wonderful. They did phase that out. That was around the time they started putting explosions in. They took the suicides out and they put the explosions in.
Muppet Christmas Carol, famously, Rizzo tries to jump off a roof.
Yeah, Gonzo's like, "Don't do it, buddy."
Gonzo talks him off the ledge.
Yeah, it's a touching scene.
There is also, like you joked about Santa's Sleigh, but there is I feel like there's an entire cottage industry of horror, of Halloween horror or Christmas horror, right?
Yeah,
like,
and I love them.
Yeah. I mean, Terrifier 3 this year had it's Christmas
Batman
moments, but
Returns.
going back to Black Christmas, Gremlins, Silent Night,
Deadly Night, Part 1.
Yeah. Like again, the idea there is to ease you out of like Halloween into Christmas. Like those are great movies to watch in November. With all due respect to Thanksgiving, there aren't too many good Thanksgiving movies outside of like Addams Family Values and Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. And, there are more just vibes movies. Like I think Knives Out is quite a Thanksgiving-y movie.
Yeah.
But like,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I always hear people asking me like, "Oh, what do you consider A Nightmare Before Christmas a Christmas or a Halloween movie?" And I always say, well, you got to meet in the middle, Thanksgiving.
I always watch it in December. Maybe I need more Thanksgiving movies because aside from Knives Out and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, we don't got a lot of
they're actually
movies. My Christmas horror movie, or a horror movie that takes place around Christmas that I don't ever see people talking about. It came out in 2019, and I fucking love this movie. I actually rewatched it last year. I Trapped the Devil. And it's a small budget horror movie. I think there's only 3 or 4 humans in it, and I threw the link in the chat. But it is about a guy whose sister shows up on Christmas, and he's very paranoid. He's kind of gone off the grid. She shows up to the house. The entire house is lit with like Christmas lights. Like it's just one of those movies that visually looks like Christmas. It looks like when you set up your tree and put up your lights, and those are the only lights in your house. So like visually, it gives Christmas. But his whole thing is he said, the devil is in my basement and I trapped him in a room. And the sister goes down there and she can hear through the door. The guy's like, this man is crazy and he locked me into this room and I'm afraid he's going to kill me. Please get me out. And her brother's like, no, that is the devil. You cannot open that door because you will let the devil out. And so the whole movie is like these 3 people trying to figure out, well, shit, how are we going to solve this situation?
That's
around the spirit of
episode
Christmas.
of the Twilight Zone.
I feel like all my favorite horror movies are just episodes of Twilight Zone. I woke up and everything was different. Yeah, that's a big reco for me.
That I have to see that now. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was on Amazon Prime last year. I don't know where it is now, but I also highly suggest if you ever find a devil, just lock him in your basement, see what happens.
That's the premise of the Babadook, right? No, that's like spoilers for the Babadook. Right?
Yeah.
Elevated Christmas.
This was just a Babadook light.
Horror,
yeah. Jesse, yes. Do you have any ones that stick out to you?
Ones that I love watching I mean, Batman Returns is a classic, but I'll let Darren speak more on that one. I really like Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Like that one, I feel like Ron Howard just does a great job in making this just fantasy world that is like full 360 Christmas adjacent. And like that one always gets me in the mood. Like banger songs, great special effects.
One of the last purely practical Christmas movies as well, as I recall.
Yeah, practical effects.
That movie looks phenomenal now.
Yeah.
That movie visually holds up because of that, because it is sets and it is costumes and it is
take that, Robert Zemeckis' Polar Express.
Oh God. I don't like it. I don't like it. Kids fucking love that movie though.
No, it is. It is a classic. It has become a classic.
Like this last few years, I say like it's like 5 years. So I've been trying to watch more Christmas movies I haven't seen before. Like some of the older ones, like Miracle on 42nd Street. I surprisingly really liked. Like conceptually, it's a great concept of like, hey, what happens if we put Santa on trial? Like, is this morally correct? Basically, like, do we prove he's not Santa or not? I don't know. It might be good.
Lock him in the basement with the devil.
Yeah, lock him.
I mean, I'm also imagining Clint Eastwood's Miracle on 34th Street as well.
The juror number 2.
Like the problem is one of the jurors knows that the man on the stand isn't Santa because he's Santa.
Oh my God. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is also one I watched like, I don't know, maybe 7-ish years ago. And I'm like, how did I not have this movie in my life before? This is great.
Yeah, that's an every year.
Like it's funny, it's like it feels warm. It's like it's great altogether.
Chevy Chase is batting 1,000.
Yeah. Like the first scene when they're like, they're getting the tree and then they're driving back and he's just like, oh, let me just swerve under these cars and stuff. Like this is great.
And then they stole it for Fast and the Furious.
Fast and the Furious.
We all know all the best moments of Fast and Furious are stolen from the various vacation movies. That's not true. I made that up. Well, you also mentioned Batman Returns, and I think that is absolutely in play. That's one of those movies I revisit almost every year around Christmas. And it is wild that they allowed him to make that movie. I completely understand why he never made another one after that, but we would be in such a better world if superhero movies were just allowed to be this. We're just like, let's take some of the greatest working actors and let them just be batshit insane throughout this movie, and we're going to make it so horny. We're going to make it so horny. Like, is it too horny? It doesn't matter. We're just gonna make.
There is no such thing as too horny. Give Michelle
Can we make
Pfeiffer a
action
whip.
figures out of this? I don't know. Just throw some of the fucking penguins. Like throw some actual penguins with rockets. In the movie.
How many men are helping Michelle Pfeiffer into the suit with latex and talcum powder? Not enough is the answer. But like the thing that I like the story that Tim Burton tells about like Batman Returns is obviously Batman '89 is the biggest hit of the year. I think it's the biggest hit at the domestic box office. It's the second biggest worldwide, behind Indiana Jones. And like it is a massive success and gets him the blank check to do whatever he wants. But like the issue with Batman Returns is, first of all, you get like this huge moral outrage against it. You get all these boycotts. You can go and you can read articles from like the New York Times or from the Washington Post of like concerned parents being, now I have to explain to my child what baby play is thanks to Danny DeVito. And the way that this works is it makes a shed load of money. It's still, I believe, the highest grossing movie of the year. It earns less than Batman '89 adjusted for inflation. But like Tim Burton remembers being called into a meeting with Warner Brothers, and the way that you are fired from a project that was a massive commercial success, which is, Tim, you did a really great job. We all loved the movie, and obviously we're very excited to hear what you have planned for Batman 3. But is there a movie you want to make? Is there a movie that you really want to make? Is there a passion project that you have that you would just really love to see made? And like just remembering sitting there as the executive, like, look, we all want you to make Batman 3 or whatever, but come on. There has to be something that you want to do for you specifically, and we will pay for you to do that.
I love that. That is just like the best like corporate speak. But basically, it's like, hey, don't do this, but we'll let you do other stuff. I mean, even like, Eric was showing like one of the McDonald's commercials, and like all those like the figures of Batman Returns are all, you see Penguin and it's all classic comic book like Silver Age Penguin.
Yeah, Burgess Meredith with like with the cigarette holder and the hat, as opposed to like child murdering like Victorian baby play enthusiast.
I love though that Warner Brothers is like, all right, well, we got Burton out of here, so let's just find a pair of safe hands, someone who isn't a weirdo, someone who isn't horny, like just to make a normal movie. All right, Joel, you're up.
Your turn at bat. I mean, I will say I was watching Batman Returns, I think a couple of Christmases ago, just in the kitchen in the family house while I was home for Christmas. And my dad was drinking a cup of coffee right at the moment where Danny DeVito comes upstairs and finds Michelle Pfeiffer waiting for him in his upstairs lobby. And he declares in full Danny DeVito voice, "Just the pussy I've been looking for." And my dad, like, spit takes the coffee back into his cup.
This is a movie for children. Yeah. For literal children.
Yeah, this is PG-13, right?
I never.
They get away with it
this
because the blood's
movie.
black. You've never seen this movie, Jesse?
I've never seen it because it came out when I was a kid, and I am viscerally now understanding why I was never allowed to see this movie, and now I need to see this movie.
I'm coming over right now. I'm
bringing a Blu-ray.
Oh, come on! Like this movie, you will love this movie. It is wild.
And like again, one of the great scripts, if only because there are so many terrible puns. There's a moment where a beautiful woman comes up and pins a badge on the Penguin, and she says, "You're the coolest role model a young person could have." And he looks at her and goes, "And you're the hottest young person a role model could have."
He puts like the pin with his flippers on her and like kind of like feels her up.
Yeah. What's it that the bit where like Christopher Walken pitches the Penguin on becoming mayor of Gotham? It's like, vast swaths of power, no oversight, and unlimited poontang. And it's
and then like the Penguin's like poontang.
Yeah, it's also hard to watch that movie. It's not Frank Reynolds. Yes. He's just Frank Reynolds. It's just Always Sunny. Yeah.
This is real. This is real.
And Christopher Walken is playing Donald Trump, like just when only people in New York knew who Donald Trump was. It's incredible.
He even has a Donald Jr.
Yeah, he really does, Chip.
Yeah.
Go, Dad, save yourself, and then like just a spit take from Walken before he goes and saves himself.
Yeah. It's
so good.
Yeah, it's really great. I think it's the first movie I remember seeing in theaters.
Well, it's certainly the first movie you won't ever forget seeing in theaters.
I think I was 5.
Wow.
I think it explains everything. And I think afterwards they were like, well, he didn't probably understand any of those innuendos, so I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Great movie. A+ movie.
Phenomenal movie.
There is one movie I watched. kind of going back to like Christmas Carol, Scrooged. I watched.
Yeah,
like,
Bill
year
Murray.
ago.
Bill Murray.
Yeah.
I honestly did not like that film.
Oh wow!
I thought it was really
Oh.
bad.
In what way?
I feel like the character he doesn't feel like he ever changes.
Mm.
Like if
I mean, he just changes on a dime.
Yeah,
Well, you're talking about
yeah.
Scrooge, right? With Bill Murray.
yeah, Scrooged, the '80s one.
Yeah.
Where it's just like I get Christmas Carol, their core character is kind of curmudgeon-y until like the end, but I feel like this one, it didn't feel like there was any real arc. It just felt like they just flipped a switch because they had to, because it's a Christmas Carol.
Jesse, there are two big problems with like expecting Scrooge to be a classic like Christmas Carol story. The first, which is it's set during the 80s, and expecting an 80s movie to end with, by the way, greed is bad is a bit of a stretch. And second of all, like it's the Bill Murray thing, which is like the thing that audiences like about Bill Murray is that he's an asshole. So when you get to the end of the movie, you can't have him stop being an asshole, or else the audience will resent it. So it's like, can he be just a little bit less of an asshole and like money just a little bit less? You know,
and they should have, I don't know, recast the character.
I personally, I love Scrooged, and I think it has some. So he played his version of Ebenezer Scrooge is like an executive
Network
at a
executive.
TV, at a TV network, and the movie opens with like a montage of different holiday programming they have planned, and one of the things, which is this really throwaway goof, is Robert Goulet's Cajun Christmas, and Robert Goulet is like on like he's like standing up on like a kayak in the bayou, and he's like singing Silver Bells, and he looks behind him and there's a crocodile in the water. He's just like, what the fuck?
Remember when like Robert Goulet would do stuff like where he would just show up and like he's in Beetlejuice as well.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like you'd just be like, hey, it's Robert. Everybody knows Robert Goulet, and as a non-American, I was just like, why is everybody making such a big deal
around this man? Yeah. Yeah. We'll put a Scrooge scene in my Sweded Christmas Carol movie. There you go. We'll add it to the list.
Okay. Nice.
Darren, are there any holiday favorites that we didn't mention?
No, I mean, you mentioned Batman Returns. I watch that every year. That is the weird, lonely, horny Christmas movie. So I watch that when I'm by myself, like wrapping presents. When I'm in like the lonely part of Christmas, Batman Returns is like the perfect misanthropic kind of lonely Christmas movie. Yeah. Other than that, like, I mean, every Christmas, the Mooney family will watch a Die Hard movie. You know, we will typically watch the first one because obviously that is the best one, but we'll occasionally watch the second or third one just because. I think the third one takes place in the middle of summer. But ironically,
that is like a real summer movie. Yeah.
Yeah, the Christmas stretch of like Die Hard has like stretched so far that like the Die Hard franchise is now a Christmas franchise. You could set it in the middle, like in the longest day of the year, the sunniest day of the year that we follow. I mean, Elf is a good one. Yeah. That's a bit of a cliche. And myself, I will typically just watch some of the old Doctor Who Christmas specials as well for myself to kind of just for nostalgia's sake. Because
do those work as standalones?
Generally, they do. There are a couple that are connected to arcs, but the way that they work is this is something that I discovered you guys don't really have in America, where Christmas Day programming in the UK and Ireland will have Christmas specials of these shows where they will be specifically designed to be watched at Christmas, and they are typically standalone, and they will typically be kind of Christmas themed.
The Office had one, right? Yeah.
And like Father Ted as well had one where they got lost in a department store at Christmas, that sort of stuff. And the idea is that like the family will just sit down. Generally speaking, they're lighter on continuity because they're meant to be watched with a family at Christmas. The idea is you sit down, you stick on RT1 or BBC One or whatever and watch the programming block, and you can watch Call the Midwife, the Christmas special, the Doctor Who Christmas special, Dancing with the Stars or EastEnders, and not have to like be immersed in the continuity of it. And they're just like really fun, really sweet little hour-long, zero-budget homages to Christmas, where sometimes they're about like the idea, I think a lot, and sometimes they're about like just Christmas entertainment. So like one of the Doctor Who Christmas specials is a Superman movie because Superman always used to air on British television at Christmas, and so it gets folded in. Or one of them is the Poseidon Adventure because the Poseidon Adventure always used to air on BBC at Christmas. That sort of stuff. It is, and other ones are more like, no, what if Santa Claus was real? But also Alien and Inception. It's just great stuff.
Ooh.
But also these other things. I love that.
What's the line? You guys have a horror movie called Alien? No wonder people keep invading you. That's so racist.
Oh no.
My last two recos. A little bit on the sadder side. If we want to go real side, if real sad, if you want, Darren, if you need a double feature for lonely wrapping presents, Eyes Wide Shut. if you want a Christmas movie that will tear you apart. Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, I feel like that ends on a happy note, you know?
Well, yeah, any movie that just ends with the couple being like, well, let's fuck.
Yeah, it's like, let's two of the most beautiful people in the world fuck. It's like, okay.
How did that marriage work out?
I thought that's how Batman Returns ended. But
honestly, it might as well.
Ironically, Batman Returns has a sadder ending.
Those movies might pair weirdly because they also have the behind the scenes, like, oh, we were involved in a thing that is kind of falling apart. Like Michael Keaton cheated on his wife with Michelle Pfeiffer, and
and that's why she wasn't in like the Batman '89. She was meant to be Batman '89, but it was like, no, I'm trying to get back together with my wife after having an affair with Michelle Pfeiffer. And by the time that like Batman Returns rolls around, there's just a fuck it anyway kind of attitude to it, and it gives you this weird, incredibly intense atmosphere. Which even as a child, I was like, are people allowed to have this sort of chemistry on screen together? This feels like it should be illegal.
When Tim Burton's behind the camera doing the sicko thing, then it's totally fine. Totally fine.
How's your wife, Michael? How's your wife?
Exactly. And then the last one, which I believe ties into something that Jesse Schwab has been watching, is Tokyo Godfathers. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this one. This is a 2003 Japanese animated feature by Satoshi Kon, one of the handful of movies he made before he passed away. But it's about a trio of homeless people who find just discover a baby in Christmas season, and like what they do to take care of this baby, and like how, and it like is like, despite the fact that it's like very like, it's fucking gorgeous because it's the guy who made Paprika and Memories and
Perfect Blue.
Perfect Blue. But it's also just like a really like it puts its lens on people that we don't really associate in Christmas movies. It also has like really good trans representation of a trans character, which is surprising for me in a 2003 anime. But really, really fucking great movie. Honestly, anything Cone's done, I highly recommend. So this one is a Christmas movie. It's quite good.
Jesse, I hear you talking in the chat, sneaking around, saying Ghostbusters 2 is a Christmas movie.
Oh, I was replying to Snake in the Garden, saying The Thing is a Christmas movie.
The Thing.
The Thing.
The Thing. It's snow, and it's a bunch of guys, and they're having a party. They're burning the house down, yeah.
And hooched up.
It's
lots
about
of alcohol.
It is about giving.
Yeah.
And it's about and then not trusting. What is the furthest? I guess Jesse, if you said Unfrosted is a Christmas movie, what is like the furthest any of us could be like, yeah, if you squint, this is a Christmas movie, like Cliffhanger.
I think Last Jedi is my. Sorry,
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi has become like a Christmas Eve watch for me because it has like, it's a very red movie. It's a very white movie. Yeah. They have like the climax on the planet of the salt, which looks like snow. So it kind of, again, which evokes Hoth and that sort of stuff. So that is about as far as I go. It's very
Kylo
red.
Ren
It's
gets
very
visited
white.
by the ghost of Christmas past.
Yeah.
Jaws? I don't know.
Did you say Oz?
Jaws.
I think he said Jaws.
Oh, I thought you said Oz, like the TV series. I was like, excited to hear this one.
Yeah. I mean, it does star Santa from Red One, right?
Yeah.
God. Oh, yeah. I remember being at a film introduction for, was it Whiplash? And everyone's like, the person introduced, like, you've never seen J.K. Simmons this mean before. And I'm like, I don't know. I've watched Oz.
I don't think anything's going to shock me.
The real one, no.
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to shock me here.
Shout out in the chat there. I think somebody pointed out that Jaws the Revenge is set at Christmas. It's just in the Bahamas.
Yeah, I was going to say it's hard to do like tropical. I guess you could do. Maybe that's the easy way to save money. Is it's like, yeah, it's just palm trees, Christmas and palm trees.
That's kind of like Die Hard, right? Like it was in California where they, scarcely get snow.
Yeah. LA is not known for the most festive.
And again, a movie in the 80s released during summer and like packaged for VHS in time for Christmas.
But they're clever though. Like the last shot of the movie is like the paper flying around like snow. So like, they're clever with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean
and
I think
that bearded man flies through the sky at the end of Die Hard. Like it's not subtle. Like,
listen, ho, he has a machine gun. How is that not a Christmas movie?
Yeah, but it's about stealing Christmas.
It is about literally stealing Christmas. Yeah.
Hans Gruber has a list of like 240 terrorists from around the world. Like it's
that
a literal naughty list.
I love when he just shrugs. He's like, I don't know. I read about it.
I read about them in People.
Yeah, I don't know who the fuck these people are.
I saw this recently on the Amazon page for the Die Hard 4K. There was one review on it from earlier this month, 5-star, a classic, and it says, oh no, where is it? Let me find it. Okay, I found it. Yeah, 5-star by Al Lover, and the review title is Argyle is a freaking G. Al is literally the main character, and then his review is, I really enjoyed watching Argyle punching Theo. He is a G for that. You may think the John McClane is the best character, but not. It's Al. He literally saved the day. He had a W redemption arc too. John had W Riz though. Love that.
I'm gonna be honest. The children shouldn't be allowed to have internet.
I mean, was that review written by Devereaux White, the actor who played Argyle?
Probably.
How do we not bring me back for these people? That movie is insane because Argyle would lose his job. He's asking his customer about. He's like, my first day on the job. He's asking his customer, is him and his wife separated? Like, you probably can't do that. And B, he's just getting hammered in the back of the car when it's parked. He's just opening up all the little bottles of booze, and I'm like, you still gotta drive this thing. What are you doing, Argyle?
That you can just as a driver, freelance, decide to block out your next 3 hours to wait in the car park in case your date has to find a place to crash.
Yeah. Perfect.
Somewhere Sylvester Stallone is checking his watch, going, the limo guy's supposed to be here, right?
He is a real homie.
You know, the fun fact about Die Hard is that they had to offer the role to Frank Sinatra first. The John McClane role.
No, what does that mean?
Because technically Die Hard, the novel, is a sequel, because Die Hard is based on a book, because obviously it's so literary. It is a sequel to a book that was previously adapted in the 1950s starring Frank Sinatra, and Frank Sinatra had bought the rights to the character. So when they knew that there was no way that at this stage 80-year-old Frank Sinatra was going to say, yeah, put me in a wife beater vest and strap a machine gun to me and I'll jump off that roof for you. But they did have to do the Hollywood thing of making the offer so he could pass on it. But it is kind of fun to imagine.
I loved it. That's kind of wasn't there a Fast and Furious thing about Roger Corman?
Yes, that's why they can't sequelize them. That's why it can't be Fast and Furious 2, Fast and Furious 3. It's because the naming... Yeah, because the naming rights to the sequels are owned by Corman through some quirk.
I love that. Fucking laws.
Does he also have the Kingdom Hearts sequel rights? Because those names are just as wild. And that would explain.
He was really ahead of the time.
Fast and Furious, Chain of Memories.
Yeah.
I mean, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, that was one film that I kind of tangentially relate to the holidays. I remember getting that DVD back in the holidays.
Sure. Yeah.
And there's some stuff like that. I would watch on demand, just random movies around the time that now I kind of associate with that. A lot of the Heisei era Godzilla films or Trauma films, bunch of just kind of whatever I would just plop on the TV.
Oh yeah, there's absolutely movies and TV and games that I associate with the holiday season purely because of when I first watched them, whether it was because that's when they came out or because I happened to do that. I always associate Pokemon with the Christmas season, even though it's nothing Christmassy about it, but that's when I played those games.
There's a nice type.
Yeah, exactly. There's a nice type. Exactly. I'm sure there's 500. There's got to be a Santa one. Someone's got a burlap sack. I don't ever associate the Avatar movies with Christmas, even though those. Well, I guess I never saw the second one.
I don't associate these movies I haven't seen with the holiday I didn't see them during.
I saw the first one. Yeah, whereas I do associate Lord of the Rings,
the Hobbit movies,
the Hobbit movies, Harry Potter
King
movies,
Kong, The Lovely Bones, all the classics,
all the Peter Jackson's classics. What happened to Peter Jackson?
I think he's sad now. I really do think there's an element of I rewatched King Kong recently, and it does feel like King Kong is very much a "Did I Kill Cinema" movie, and it seems like his career afterwards has largely been, "Guess I did."
Well, Christopher Nolan did that, and he's like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna plow right through it." I killed movies. I'm gonna bring them back to life
with a helicopter movie or the remake of Blue Thunder,
or maybe it's vampires. Who knows?
What if it's a vampire helicopter?
Oh my god! Could you imagine if they put vampires in that helicopter movie? I am so excited about
starring
this
Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Zendaya, Lupita Nyong'o,
Charlize Theron,
and Hathaway, Charlize Theron.
I am so excited.
Speaking of Peter Jackson, Marty, when's the next archive?
Oh my god, it's soon. It's funny playing this Indiana Jones game. It reminds me of Peter Jackson's King Kong the movie, the game. In a way that it's like this. You didn't need to go this hard on this thing, and yet you did.
Does Adrian Brody keep telling you how out of ammo you are when you try to reload?
It is
Oscar winner Adrian Brody.
in King Kong. He literally does.
Yeah,
like,
no, you don't have an ammo
HUD.
now. You don't have a H. Yeah, you don't have a heads up display.
Again, it just amazes me that Darren knows all this about games. What is happening? Yeah, there's no HUD in the game, and so it's Adrian Brody screaming like, "I'm out of ammo" when you're low on ammo.
He's got 2 rounds and 3 clips.
Yeah, they're reusing
all those comics behind Darren. And you just take one comic, solve video games.
Yeah.
I could have been anything I wanted.
Back here.
I just chose movies.
Movies chose me, Marty.
Luckily, they saved all those lines, and they're going to reuse them for Ubisoft's The Brutalist, coming out next fall. Okay, going over some super chats before we just dip into the other things we've been watching. Snake in the Garden with a €2 dono from the beginning of the stream. Thank you so much, Snake. Best Christmas movie poll in Discord Premium. Get the fuck out of here. Is that true? I tried to click it and then everything broke. I'm afraid to click. I'm afraid to click anything in Discord.
Doing it live.
I'm curious what movies are on that list. If you had to pick one, gun to your head, one Christmas movie you could watch for the rest of your life, what would it be? Unfrosted.
My gut reaction, just in terms of like all things encompassing, probably Home Alone.
That's a great one. We didn't mention Home Alone.
Yeah.
Hot Frosty.
Hot Frosty. I saw it. I'm not sure it's worth watching twice, but it was worth
but
watching.
But you would commit to watching it for the rest of your life.
Yeah. That might be the most worth watching once movie ever made, and the least worth watching twice ever made.
Like best idea ever. When not the podcast where they just watched Grown Ups 2 for like a year.
We didn't mention that just for the sake of this, and this is probably the one with the most nostalgia for me is Christmas Story. That's like the most basic answer, but
TBS 24-hour marathons.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a movie that I my parents always used to watch a bunch of Christmas movies, so I think I just sort of like inherited that gene from them. But I really do love it, and I know that's one that got so popular that it got a backlash against it, which is understandable. That and It's a Wonderful Life like were aired ad nauseum on TV, but I still love Christmas Story.
Could I put a Wizard of Oz in there?
Yeah,
does that count? Could I sneak that in on those grounds?
You can choose whatever you want. It's jazz, baby.
It's your Christmas.
But apparently it's also the Wizard of Oz's Christmas. We'll say Christmas Story doesn't seem to have that much of a footprint outside the States. Like I've never seen a Christmas Story. I know that it exists because Americans always talk about it, but
you've never seen it.
I've never seen it.
I'd be really curious of your thoughts. So this was a Bob Clark movie he had like a 3-year run where he made this Black Christmas and Porky's. And I'm like,
and Baby Geniuses 1 and 2. Don't forget Baby Geniuses 1 and 2.
To be honest, I did forget Baby Geniuses 1 and 2. I was not one of the titular Baby Geniuses. That's really surprising. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. A, it's like seeped in Americana, and B, maybe a lot of us watched it because, like you mentioned, Jesse, it was just 24-hour marathons on American cable when we were a kid that you guys might not have had. Yeah, and they did make the Christmas Story sequel came out a year or two ago.
Years ago.
Oh, okay. So is it the making of a Christmas? It's like a behind the scenes kind of
September
5th type. Okay.
Thing.
Okay. It's like we have to get the Christmas Story to screen. Yeah. America needs to hear it.
Yeah, the second season of what was it? The Offer? What was the show about the Godfather? The making of the Godfather. Every season is going to be about the making of a different movie.
It's like
Jesse,
Sunday night, except it's the production of like a Christmas Story.
Exactly. Jesse, do you have a pick for one?
Okay, if we have to go traditional, it probably would be Will Vinton's Christmas or Will Vinton's Claymation Christmas because it's gorgeous, it's funny. I can watch Claymation. In the same vein, I might have to do The Thing because that's just a great movie and it's got snow.
Yeah,
But if we're saying the only one you can watch, like that's your one, I may have to do quantity and say Lord of the Rings. That's 13 hours.
You can't count them as one movie.
Also, all the behind the
That is
scenes
the
appendices.
The extended cut of Lord of the Rings is one 11.5-hour movie.
If you're doing that, Jesse, you got to take The Hobbit. That's the deal.
Oh my gosh, no! I don't want to watch.
No, you gotta watch them all.
Hobbit.
You gotta eat your veggies if you want dessert.
Yeah, you can pick one Lord of the Rings movie, or you can take the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. Those are your choices.
Yeah, what if it was any time you want to watch Lord of the Rings, you have to make it through the three Hobbit extended ones.
Yeah. If like you can pause at any time, but if to go forward, you have to go through the Hobbit. Like,
if that was the case, I may never watch Lord of the Rings again.
Unless you're talking about the
Ralph,
the Bakshi
ones are good ones.
Animated one.
Oh, that's on Max right now. I haven't seen it yet, but it's on my list.
That's fun.
Yeah,
the Ralph Bakshi
or the Soviet Union made for TV version of The Hobbit.
Yeah, shit, weird. Man, Lord of the Rings is great. What about that War of Rohirrim? Did you see War of Rohirrim?
Did that come out yet?
It's out this weekend. It's out this weekend. Yes, another one of those. There will be no second screening. Emails that I got.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about the lack of anything
press.
I've seen coming out of that.
Really? Yeah. I'm getting a ton of ads for it on like Instagram.
Well, I mean, like the lack of. I haven't just. I don't even know. Is the embargo up? I haven't seen.
Reviews
of it. And, which isn't 100% correlation that a thing is bad. Like the Indiana Jones reviews for the new game didn't come out until the day the game came out, and that game's great. So,
I mean, it is also the fact that it's Warner Brothers and they are basically bankrupt after Joker Follow You Do. Like Warner's have not had a great year, with all due respect to Furiosa, which is a tremendous film which underperformed. But like, yeah, their international management of Twisters, the release of Joker Follow You Do. I can see there not being much in the the publicity bucket for War of the Rohirrim.
I mean, luckily they had Beetlejuice, right?
They did. That did well enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess they're just in a holding pattern, probably just praying that Superman is a massive success next summer, which I feel like will be. That seems like a pretty safe bet.
It does, but I mean, when was the last time a Superman movie was good? That's what you have weighing against it. I'm a big James Gunn fan, but there's also like the extent to which is Superman something audiences are interested in anymore, and I'm kind of hoping it is, but who knows?
Superman 3 is underrated. Just saying that.
Is that the one with
Richard Pryor?
Yeah.
That's the one where Superman lets a train crash so he can get laid, right? Speaking of like,
that sounds like something Tim Burton's Batman would do. That sounds like something Batman Returns.
Sometimes that's how you lay those tracks, you know.
Yeah. This train's entering a tunnel anyway.
Fungus Finder with a $2 dono. Thank you so much, Fungus Finder. The Christmas episode of Always Sunny is great. Yeah, I didn't really even think about Christmas episodes of things. I see a lot of people trying to say that The Constant from Lost is a Christmas episode because he's calling her on Christmas Day. I don't feel like that's a Christmas episode, despite the fact that The Constant's like my favorite episode of TV
ever.
Yeah. But people are talking about it, so that makes me happy. I can see, like you mentioned, Darren, a lot of those British series have like distinct Christmas specials. That in the US, I feel like they were like, there's like Christmas episodes of like The Office and like, you know, sitcoms and Simpsons, I think. Yeah,
but like they would bring back for like Only Fools and Horses, like is a sitcom over here that ended in like the 80s, I want to say, and through to the 2000s. Like they would bring back the actors for a Christmas special once every couple of years, and it would be a big TV event.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah. Sorry.
Look at that. Jason Tudor with a $5 Canadian dono. Thank you so much, Jason. My recommendation for a raunchy, grungy, found footage anti-Christmas movie is Cooper's Christmas, starring all manner of fellow Canadians. I have never. Is this Agent Dale Cooper's Christmas? Because I want to know what his Christmas was like. Wait, is it Cooper's Christmas or Cooper's Camera? I can't figure out what this is. Oh,
was it Pottersville we were talking about last
Oh yeah, Pottersville.
Oh yeah,
Pottersville. Michael Shannon.
I added that
with the furries.
I added that to my list. Incredible.
Y'all gotta watch it. It's so good.
It's both Cooper's Christmas and Cooper's Camera.
When I looked up Cooper's Christmas, Love the Coopers came up.
Yeah, that's what I see. It's two different names for the same movie.
A 2015 Christmas film
from the UK and Ireland
with John Goodman.
I think that's different than Canadian. No, the one I'm seeing is Jason Jones as Gord Cooper, Samantha Bee as Nancy Cooper, and Mike Beaver as Uncle Nick.
Look, it's a very Cooper Christmas. We can all agree.
There's only one Cooper I care about. His name's Gary Cooper. It's the only Christmas Cooper I care about. Thanks so much, Jason. Winged Potato with a $5 dono. Kind of a cross between movie and show, but the two classic era Mystery Science Theater 3000 Christmas episodes, Santa Claus and Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, are my go-tos.
Yes. And I back those up too, because I recently picked up some boutique Blu-rays from both of those.
Oh, nice.
One was Vinegar Syndrome. The other one was like they both came out like the last month, like a nice like Blu-ray release, and they are. Nice. If you watch like some of those like bonkers like classic Christmas films, like from like the 50s and 60s, like check those out. Like one of them where he like fights the devil and like Merlin the wizard like makes him his Santa stuff.
Yep. I think that's Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
No, that's just Santa Claus.
Another one.
Yeah. Also worth shouting out that Santa Claus Conquers the Martians did feature Golden Globe winner Pia Zadora.
Oh no.
To bring it all full circle.
Bring it all around. Everyone, we're going back to Vegas for 2 weeks.
Conquers the Martians is where the one where they have like that song. 3 cheers for Santa Claus. Like it's really bad. And I don't know if he ever actually ho-ho-hos in the movie. He just laughs.
Like the laugh was copyright, Jesse.
Yeah, you can't ho-ho-ho. You got to come up with your own distinct, legally distinct. I love it. Jewel Rao with a €5 dono. Thank you so much, Jewel. My favorite Christmas movie will always be Christmas Vacation. With a friend, I will watch Paddington because of the wholesomeness. You gotta twist my arm about Paddington.
Yeah,
Paddington is delightful.
Particularly Paddington 2. And Paddington 3 is Paddington Peru is a Valentine's Day movie for you Americans, I believe.
That's right. Wait, is it not for you?
No, we've already had it. We've already seen it. It's already been out here for like several months.
What?
Yeah, it's one. Is it available on streaming? Not yet. No. You can't export Paddington at the moment. Unfortunately, tariffs are a big deal. But yeah, it is. It's been out. Yeah, we've. It's fine. It is perfectly adequate.
It is fine.
Paddington 2 is the Godfather Part 2 of Talking Bear movies. Mm-hmm. Paddington in Peru is the Godfather 3 of Talking Bear movies, which is to say that it is fine, but also that it is like not amazing.
Sure. Is it a better cinematic depiction of Peru than the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Might be a little more culturally sensitive.
Sure. Does it have fucking Alfred Molina stabbing you in the back? Stupito or whatever.
Getting stabbed in his own back.
The power with a knife in the palm of my hand.
Snake in the Garden with a €2 dono. Thank you so much. Snake is the thing a Christmas movie because of the snow. No, in my opinion. I feel like a Christmas movie is in the eye of the beholder. I think ultimately.
It is a movie about literally coming together, like, to be fair.
Yeah. And like at the end of the movie, it's two friends sharing a warm beverage on a cold night beside the fire.
It's like
realizing that they hate each other.
Or do they? Maybe they're both things. Who knows? Maybe they're the same dude. They don't even realize it now. Yeah, is The Shining a Christmas movie?
I think you could absolutely count The Shining as a Christmas movie.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean,
bunch of snow.
Yeah,
family trapped together in a remote location. Sometimes Christmas feels like that. Yeah.
Very Christmas. Whether or not you consider Christmas movie, any reason to watch a movie you like, I think is a good reason. Like if you want to say Die Hard's a Christmas movie, just to watch it. Watch it. It's a great movie. Go watch the thing. Yeah.
Perfectly said. Jason Tudor with another $5 Thank you so much. Much watched Christmas movies. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, if nothing else, but for the River Bottom Nightmare Band scene.
Have you seen that movie?
I saw it when I was a kid. I don't think I've seen it since. Like I don't know enough of it to recall it. I like my Muppets,
watch
but
it again.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim Henson Productions. It's a delightful little movie.
I like all my Muppet movies. I really like Muppet Treasure Island. I think that's a great.
How do you feel about Muppets from Space?
I don't actually like all Muppet movies. I just
okay. I was just checking.
No, I like the Muppet movie. I like the Muppet Great Caper. I don't mind the Jason Segel modern Muppet movies.
I love the first one. I don't like the
Muppets Most Wanted.
Muppets Most Wanted. Yeah.
There was two of them, right?
Yeah, there were two of them, and like, there's a really ironic line where like the studio considers this a viable franchise, and it's like that just feels mean now. You should edit that out of like streaming versions of the movie.
That they should put the culturally insensitive warning before you watch it.
This movie makes promises about how Disney will treat the Muppets that the studio does not subsequently keep.
With Ted Danson.
Yeah. Danson would be.
He is the most Muppet-like human being.
Man, Ted Danson would be great in a movie where he's the only human surrounded by Muppets. Like, he would be great as a Michael Caine.
Yeah.
And then Snake in the Garden with a €2 dono. Thank you so much. Bonus round, best Christmas song. Wham versus Mariah, in my opinion. I mean, I love Last Christmas and I love All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Wait, so are we doing like which one of those two is better, or what's the actual year thing?
No, I think open-ended question to everyone, and Snake's 2 picks were Wham, either Last Christmas or All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Mariah is pretty good. Oh, the Heat Miser and Snow Miser from the Year Without Santa Claus.
Oh,
I'm Mr. Heat Miser. It's great.
What is that?
You've never heard that song?
Before we say the best, I want to nominate the worst.
Batman and Robin.
The classic that is.
Yes.
Is Batman and Robin a Christmas movie?
Absolutely.
But
or is it an Arbor Day movie? Because of Poison Ivy.
Arbor Day classic.
It's both.
Want to nominate like worst Christmas song before we talk about best, which is Michael Bublé's cover of Santa Baby, except he covered Santa's Buddy. It's it's no homo, but the musical. Have you? Yeah. You've never.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Do yourself the opposite of a favor and like listen to it. It is stunning. Where it's like he doesn't want a diamond ring, he wants a Jaguar. Santa Buddy. It's like a wink. Golf club under the tree for me. Yeah. I've been an awfully good dude. Yeah. Santa Buddy.
That being Santa, if you do bring me that car, I will fuck you. I'm like, just laying all the cards out on the table, Santa. Bring me that car. Yeah, things will get frisky. Don't you worry.
Yeah, I don't want a diamond ring for Tiffany's, but yeah, it's such a surreal experience because somebody was playing the Bublé CD at Christmas, and I was like, I realize we should be talking over the white noise that's playing in the background, but I have this itch in my brain that is Michael Bublé no homoing Santa Baby. In terms of best, I quite like the David Bowie Bing Crosby Drummer Boy song.
Okay, yeah.
Joan Lewis Stop the Cavalry, and O Tenenbaum is just great Christmas white noise.
Yeah. I like Nat King Cole's Christmas album, The Christmas Song. Chestnuts roasting an open fire. What a song. Used in One Car Wise 2046.
Also, like, what a baller move to call it the Christmas song, to just be like, yep.
I did it.
Just throwing it down.
I did it. Jerry Seinfeld thought he did the same thing with the Bee Movie. He's like, I got it. I made it. This is the last movie about bees anyone ever needs to make. And sure enough, it was. Good Christmas tunes. And then Snake with another €2 says, Darren, please explain the RTE toy show tradition.
So basically, there is a chat show in Ireland called The Late Late Show. It is, I believe, technically the longest running continuous late night chat show in the world. We're very proud of it. Thank you, Eric. That is incredibly fast image work there. And every year, I think it is on the first or second Friday in December, they have a tradition called the Toy Show. And what the Toy Show is it is basically that late night Friday chat show in Ireland being devoted to the idea of Christmas and Christmas gifts and what are the current Christmas trends. And it is a weird thing because Ireland used to only have 2 television networks. Now it has like 4. And then obviously we now have a bunch of stuff from the UK, but everybody used to watch this. So it had this kind of cultural osmosis and became a kind of a cultural phenomenon where you have things like the toy show jumper you can see there being modeled by Mr. Ryan Tuberty. And it is just this incredibly quaint, incredibly, very kind of campy, very silly, very unrehearsed interaction of like the host and these kids who are demonstrating whatever the toy of the year is that runs for about 3 hours. It is also, fun fact, almost responsible for killing public broadcasting in Ireland, where the toy show was such a popular phenomenon, and there was, I can't remember who it was, some celebrity got really into the toy show while they were filming. Oh, it was Will Ferrell, I think, is a fan of the toy show. while he was over here in Ireland. But basically, because of its cultural import, RTE decided to invest very heavily in making Toy Show the Musical, which was a musical story about a child at Christmas going to the Late Late Toy Show, produced by the company that produces the Late Late Toy Show. Turns out, Ireland didn't really have that much of an appetite for a self-aggrandizing musical from a public broadcaster about like a national institution. And so ticket sales were, I believe the quote that was used was underwhelming, to the point where like caused a miniature financial crisis in our national broadcaster. Yeah, there we are. The Toy Show musical.
It's incredible.
Yeah. One of those like quaint little reminders that we are, a small country in many ways, a very parochial country. But yeah, a nice little bit of Irish culture there. If you want to sometimes imagine that Ireland is exactly what everybody thinks Ireland is.
Yeah. That's incredible. I love that. Jesse, I realize it's close to 40 past the hour.
Yep. So I have to go.
Yeah. Do you have any? Do you have any last minute recos or things you watched or things that people should know? Where should people find you? What should people eat? Tell people what they should have for dinner.
You should eat whatever you like best, and
Incredible.
whatever your friends that'll eat with you like best. You should have that.
I like that.
Because it's all about friendship and coming together, like the thing. So it is. My last recommendation, I swear somebody here has heard of it, and I thought it was Jack, and it wasn't. There's a Christmas horror comedy musical called Anna and the Apocalypse. That is.
Oh yeah, I remember that movie. Yeah.
Okay, so you two have seen it.
Yeah.
Is it Alice Lowe? Am I wrong in thinking it's Alice Lowe?
I might be wrong.
Okay.
I don't remember who was in it.
Okay.
But saw it, delightful. That is a Christmas recommendation. Also is on Tubi for the next 20 days, so you can watch it for free. I think. It's
Oh my God! You brought a Tubi Fair. You brought a Tubi Fair. It's a Christmas miracle.
I wouldn't let a Tubi Fair go. Someone's got to bring it.
I love it.
The Tubi Christmas miracle.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. So as you're heading out to your dentist appointment, what should folks check out? Jesse's neck of the woods.
We did the Hot Monday Energy yesterday, and then this today, and I don't think I have anything directly coming out this week. But other than check out Adventure is Nigh, I think it's the second to last episode of season 2 is on Saturday, and then Rexicon Jesse on Blue Sky and Twitter, and even though I don't really use it anymore, and YouTube and Twitch.
Wonderful.
Yep.
I hope you have a very festive time at the dentist.
Thank you. I hope I do too. Wouldn't that be nice?
I hope they play all of our favorite Christmas songs, including the Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, or whatever the hell was mentioned there.
I mean, I'm gonna have headphones on, so I get to pick whatever Christmas music I listen to. Well,
do dentists let you wear headphones?
Yeah.
I mean, if I was a dentist, I'd be like anything to draw your attention away from the drill moving towards your open mouth.
They're always like, "What kind of music do you want to listen to?" And I'm like, "I don't like."
I've never had a dentist ask that.
The fact that you're taking this much care only makes me more nervous.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any song you'd like that would be the last song? If you were to pick a song that would be the last song that you were to hear, what would it be? It's like, why you ask? No reason.
If I were to accidentally stick this needle in your brain, what would the last sound you want to hear is? Lovely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jesse.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Yep. Have a good trip. Have a good. A couple more super chats before we get to the final things we've been watching. Sebastian, thank you so much for the $2 dono. Best Christmas song: Run DMC's "Christmas in Hollis." I mean, that's
bring us back to Die Hard.
Yeah, exactly. That's the song right at the beginning of it. What about? And CSI Freak with a $10 dono, or £10 dono. Thank you so much, CSI Freak. Is there a recent Christmas film that you rewatched? I love the classics, but I found myself returning to Spirited with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. Muppet Christmas Carol and Love Actually tie for my top Christmas movies. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit 2 weeks ago, I think, with Hot Frosty, about how it just seems like nothing's really entered the Christmas canon. Like the 90s were huge with movies entering the Christmas canon. The early aughts, you had your Elf, and you had Bad Santa,
Love Actually,
even going on to
Express,
yeah. But we still get Christmas movies, but like it just doesn't see like Spirited. I watched, I might never see again. Although, Krampus. There's the Noel, which was perfectly fine with Anna Kendrick and Bill Hader, but Yeah, a lot of time, but there was Violent Night, right? A few years ago with
that's the David Harbour.
Yeah.
Like that's canonizing Die Hard as a Christmas movie effectively is like what that movie's lasting cultural contribution is.
Yeah. Klaus might be the closest. I
That's the
haven't
Netflix
rewatched
animated
it. I watched it, once, and I didn't really enjoyed it. But I would love for a banger Christmas movie to come out every year. It just seems like a lot of the recent ones have kind of.
Does the Guardians holiday special count?
Oh, that was I haven't rewatched that. I liked it.
I think like the Black Christmas, the Black Mirror White Christmas episode is also one that I watch on occasion.
That's great. I should
possibly upbeat. That's John Hamm again. All good Christmas movies, it stars John Hamm.
All roads lead to John Hamm.
The Holdovers. I actually really like that one.
Oh, that's
Holdovers is
a
I haven't rewatched that since last year, but that could be one. That definitely has that like winterim empty college feel to it, which that's pretty good. Yeah,
perfect February release over here in Ireland.
Nothing weird about that. You got Paddington.
I know, that was the trade-off. We had to trade Paul Giamatti for Paddington at the border. That was your Bridge
of Spies moment where you had to hand over the two things.
Don't look back, Paddington.
God, Bridge of Spies is really good.
It is. Yeah.
Sorry.
Catch What You Can. That's also a great Christmas movie.
Oh yeah. Oh, that is a good one.
Yeah. Sorry,
Spielberg. He's really good at making movies.
What are the odds?
No one ever says this.
Yeah, with the hottest takes on this podcast.
But Stevie S, really good at making movies.
Hugo, like Scorsese, also kind of Christmassy, I guess.
It's kind of Christmassy. Yeah, probably the closest Scorsese you'll get to a Christmas movie.
I mean, he did release Wolf of Wall Street at Christmas, so it does technically. Oh, Hateful Eight from Tarantino. That's also
that's a good one. Yeah, that's locked in a cabin in a snowstorm.
It's The Thing. It's basically
if the thing. Yeah, if the thing counts, then that counts. Last Temptation of Christ.
It's more of an Easter movie, really.
Easter movie. That's right. That's funny. So what have you guys watching? Jesse, what have you been watching lately that we haven't talked about yet?
Oh, I'm trying to scour through my movies from this year because I think there might have been one I watched that might have been a Christmas movie, but I could be completely mistaken.
Is it Unfrosted again?
Hot and Frosty.
I only watched it the first time. I don't think it's a Christmas movie. So like you mentioned earlier, I started watching Satoshi Kon movies. I watched Perfect Blue.
Yeah.
Which, like, oh my god, this animation is like absolutely incredible. Like every frame a painting in it, like you start,
and it's
just like absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and it's it ended up being one of those movies that inspired a lot of Western directors. I mean, to the
Darren
point where
Aronofsky
specifically cribs shots from it, but also has very much a Black Swan vibes to it. But yeah, one of just the straight up best movies about like fan obsession, and it was made in the mid to late 90s, which it was like well ahead of the curve of I guess it was that alongside, what was the movie? The Fan? Was that the movie with Wesley Snipes
and Robert De Niro?
There you go. Perfect Blue and The Fan.
And The Fan, yeah. Tony Scott's worst movie, maybe?
That's Tony Scott. It's not yellow enough. Where's the piss filter?
It's blue. Like, it's before he went yellow. It's when he was blue.
It's perfectly blue.
It's the Tony Scott spectrum. It is perfectly blue. Because it's around about like Man on Fire. He starts going properly gold. Like it's and then it's like Domino, and then it's like Unstoppable, and
Domino was on framed the other day, and in my chat I got it in one. They're like, "How?" And I'm like, "I know that piss filter anywhere. You can't pull a fast one on me."
Process of elimination. It doesn't star Denzel Washington. It's got to be Domino.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
It's all falling into place, much like Dominoes.
I definitely second Perfect Blue. If anyone hasn't seen it, it's wonderful.
Aside from Perfect Blue and the aforementioned Unfrosted, I also rewatched Shopping Mall, which is great. It's been a while since like I've seen that film, like years and years and years. So like I finally rewatched. I'm like, like that's a film that like they knew what the assignment was. Like they knew it was gonna be some like schlocky, dumb horror, kind of like horror comedy. Anything in like an 80s mall is just it's nothing but vibes. But it feels so tight with it. Like there's not really much like filler going on in it. Like even like the runtime of the film, a nice comfy like what is like 70 minutes, something like that. Like it's pretty short. And it's like it's hilarious from start to end. And like I definitely appreciate it more a second time around.
Little chopping mall. Was that the movie that had the there's only 2 chopping days till Christmas tagline? Or was that Silent Night, Deadly Night? One of them had a chopping days till Christmas tagline, and I was like, hell yeah, brother. You know,
it does feel like you're doing chopping while you're doubling down on the. It feels like your tagline team are kind of just ghosting.
You got a hat on a hat right now.
Yeah.
I think the tagline,
is that the best? The pun is the title. It's
I think the tagline is where shopping costs you an arm and a leg.
Oh, that's good. Pretty. Yeah,
that's okay. That's better.
It does feel like the improv guy who just rephrases exactly what you gave.
Yeah, You're like, we're just the same joke. Funny. Anything else?
That's all the main stuff worth talking about on my end. I would say.
Lovely, Darren. What have you been watching?
Oh, quiet enough again, just wrapping up for the end of the year. So a bunch of awardsy stuff, which is mostly perfectly adequate. So like September 5th, which is about the Munich massacre and about the power of television, which is fine. It's an exceedingly well-made movie, but it's also a movie which seems exceedingly pleased with itself for being like, film, television journalism, that's the real journalism. It kind of does have this air of like worthiness to it that is quite frustrating when the movie's central argument is no moral judgment whatsoever. Like the great thing about journalism is that there is no moral judgment whatsoever. It's kind of, I feel like sometimes it's okay to make moral judgments. And then Night Bitch, which is the Amy Adams movie, which was supposed to be, or rumored to be, her big kind of Oscar play, which kind of imploded, which is the Marion Heller movie. It's about a woman who, after giving birth, believes that she is literally turning into a dog at night. It is fine. It is a movie that like keeps stopping and starting. It's an adaptation of a novel, but it feels like an adaptation of like a one-woman play in that it is a series of monologues about the paradoxes and contradictions of motherhood. And it has these wild tonal shifts. It's not even bipolar, because bipolar kind of undersells it because it is like both cynical and eerily heartfelt. It is both absurd and like insistently grounded. But I found myself kind of a little charmed by it despite that. It is erratic, it stops and starts, its pacing is all wrong. But Adams is, as Adams is, very good at what she does. And there were moments in it that were just kind of punctuated by long periods of waiting in between. One I will recommend that I did honestly love, and if you're in the UK or Ireland, you can see this now. If you're in the States, I believe you're going to have to wait until early next year. But the documentary Grand Theft Hamlet, which will probably be of particular interest to Second Wind subscribers, which is just this incredible documentary about, at the height of the pandemic, 2 out-of-work actors decide to stage a version of William Shakespeare's Hamlet inside Grand Theft Auto Online. And it is this wonderful snapshot of these strange spaces that existed online during the pandemic where everybody was like locked down and alone and isolated, but coming together, playing Animal Crossing or playing GTA Online.
Yeah, or Among Us. Or
and like forging these weirdly personal, weirdly intimate, but also weirdly like liminal relationships with other people where, you know, there's a moment where they audition somebody to play, I think it's to play Hamlet, and they're like, she's got the part, we're going to do a gender swapped Hamlet, and she's got the part, and then they go and talk to her avatar, and it's like, actually, I'm her nephew, she was only up for the weekend, and she's gone back to London, and she doesn't own a PlayStation. And it's like, so she's not available then? No, I don't think she is. A lot of that sort of stuff happening, but in the midst of like playing GTA and these guys having like existential breakdowns while playing GTA and having to introduce Hamlet with, please don't shoot the performers during the performance. Yeah. It is incredibly charming, incredibly goofy, incredibly sweet and sincere. If you haven't seen it, I would wholeheartedly recommend it. That is Grand Theft Hamlet.
How is it presented? Is it all in game? Is there footage of like talking heads of real people or?
No, it's all, is it Mashima, I think is what they call the genre?
Machinima.
Machinima, which is literally just, it is recorded. And again, one of the interesting things is because one of the actors' partner, and I believe she's now his wife, is a documentarian herself. She heard about like her husband and his best friend deciding to stage Hamlet and was like, I've never played GTA, but I should make a documentary about this in the world of GTA and conduct myself like a documentarian in GTA. And like there are moments when she is like trying to talk to other players in the middle of firefights or whatever, or trying to convince people that what they're doing is not the stupidest idea in the world. Or like the moment when they invite people back to their pad and they're like, I'm not into sex stuff. It's like, no, that's not what this is at all. It's so incredibly like charming because it's people who aren't overly familiar with like online gaming culture, but like trying to engage with it earnestly and sincerely. And like it is funny, but it's also achingly sincere and weirdly sweet and strangely moving. It is all the things that I just said, like Night Bitch tries to be and veers wildly between, but like Grand Theft Hamlet kind of manages to balance those things because you don't expect to find yourself strangely moved by at one of the actors in particular having like a midlife crisis when everybody else starts getting jobs again at the end of COVID, and he's just like, I gotta make my fucking Hamlet play in GTA.
You know what? It's still locked down for me.
I didn't go outside before lockdown.
I'm really excited to see this one when it's not currently available, right?
Not in the US. I believe it is. Again, I think it will be out in like February, March is when it's going to get a rollout.
That was part of the great holdovers Paddington trade.
Yeah. It won a Royal Shakespearean Society Award for like best innovation. It won best documentary, I think, at South by Southwest last year. Like, so it will hopefully get a nice rollout, I'm hoping, in the States. But yeah, it was in theaters this weekend in Ireland and is well worth seeing.
What if timing it next year to try to like release around GTA 6?
That's
going to be like the biggest pop culture thing of next year.
When is GTA 6 roughly next year? What time?
They haven't said, and Rockstar, the developer, they could just release it whenever they want. They have no one tells them when. They could just say it's out now if they wanted, or they could delay it 2 years. Which is funny because there's like reports about how every other game publisher is terrified of like the back half of the year because they don't want to release it anywhere in that orbit. And they're not like a traditional studio, like a movie studio where it's like James Gunn's Superman is coming out in 2 years on this weekend. Like we just might wake up some morning and it's like Grand Theft Auto is available in 3 weeks. Very strange.
Didn't Daniel Radcliffe did like a BBC movie about like the
Housers? Yeah, I think he played like one of the founders of the studio. Yeah.
Bill Paxton, I think, was like the Florida senator who tried to get them banned.
Oh, what was his name? I fuck.
Yeah, no. Again, one of those like
we're getting I'm excited that we're getting a whole new wave of those now. We're gonna get a whole new wave of video games are bad. They're already being like, oh no, the CEO shooter played Among Us. I'm like, oh yeah, definitely that's what radicalized him.
I mean, again, not to draw politics into this, but I think was it Elon Musk during the week was like, no, I could never play GTA 5. I found myself uncomfortable shooting a police officer. And I'm like, oh yeah. Even I, king of the dorks, the most dorky of us. I'm like, nerd.
Daring today, aren't we?
What else have you been watching?
Twin Peaks: The Return. Actually, I've been.
Oh
yeah. Like I was watching Lynch stuff earlier in the year, and I think Blank Jack the podcast are doing a Lynch season, so I finally decided to bite the bullet and do rewatch The Return. This is something where like very stupidly when it came out, so about 7 years ago, myself and my friend Andrew did like a charity podcast for the Irish Cancer Society that was a live 18-hour podcast going through The Return. Which was an insane and stupid
like a watch along, or was it just you guys talking for
us guys talking for 18 hours with like people donating thousands? It was great. It raised a couple of €1,000 for cancer research in Ireland, which was pretty decent. And we did have like guests coming in every hour and stuff like that. We had like the best cherry pie in Ireland for one of our hour-long segments. And we did have the best cherry pie in Ireland. Like for months afterwards, we were overflowing with cherry pie. Apparently, the real diner doesn't have great cherry pie. I've been told.
It's like a little tourist spot that I think they're like, we can just serve shit and people don't care because they're gonna come here to take their pictures with it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say, rewatching The Return, it's just a phenomenal piece of television. It's so weird because it is now, like, at the time I was like, this is what the future of television and streaming is going to be. Like, studios are just going to point at directors and go, you get however many $1 million to make whatever the hell you want, and just show up and give it to us, and we'll be happy to have it because people will subscribe to our service to watch it. And I have no idea, like, how lucky we were. Like, it is impossible to imagine that existing even 2 years later, which is just 18 hours of Lynch doing the most Lynch stuff, where for 7 minutes, a guy sweeps the floor of a bar to the tune of Green Onions. It's incredible. It is like one of the best things. And revisiting it, I'm just like blown away by that it exists at all, and that it's good. And the way that Lynch stuff affects me, which is, I don't try to like rationalize it or understand it. I don't try to decode it or figure out what it quote unquote means. I just emotionally engage with the ideas in it because it's so uniquely and eccentrically wired. Like, there is no way for me to understand Lynch's thought processes because they are Lynch's thought processes. So I am just open up to being like, this is a really sad study of how people have been hollowed out and how disconnected we are, and how, you know, as you get old, you reflect on the passage of time and the loss of friends. And it's like, this is the saddest, sweetest thing I have ever seen.
Yeah. And even self-commentary on his own. I think I saw it was probably, I was about to say, I saw someone post about it. It was probably you and your rewatch, but talking about how you have those entire moments of the character whose job is to stare at the box. And what happens? Take notes. Understand the box. Like, learn what is happening in this box. And it's like, the box will kill you. Do not stare at the box.
Yeah. You get brutally murdered 2 episodes in, and it's like, just so you know. Like, again, it's like that bit in Is It Fire Walk With Me, where you have the woman dancing, and like you have afterwards, is it Kiefer Sutherland and what's the name of it? Is it Chris Isaacs explaining? Oh no, you can decode and explain this incredibly esoteric
because of the color dress she's wearing. What she's doing.
She had a blue rose, and the way she's moving her elbows, and it's like, it does feel like Lynch. Like, because this is the thing. Like, as much as Lynch is, you know, an abstract artist and a surrealist and a weirdo, he is also a guy with a great sense of humor, which is, I think, a large part of why he gets away with it. Like, his movies are funny. Like, even if you don't get what they are, and even if you have a reaction to like abstract art, you're like, no, that's funny, I can engage with that. And the second thing is, like, he is also like very aware of his audience. He is like incredibly capitalistic. He invented a website to directly sell his own movies to his customers to cut out the middleman. He makes his own DVDs. He releases his own music. He, for a little while, operated his own website where you could, like, for a subscription fee, Patreon style, get like weather reports from him every week. Like, he is a very savvy operator, despite the kind of cloud cuckoo lander vibes that he gives out. And I think, like, it's an interesting tension when you watch something that he has done to figure out the connection between the two. I love it so much. Sorry.
No, so do I. I think it's such a fucking bummer that whatever he was working on at Netflix fell apart. Like, I think that's a prime example of like, oh, that bubble had already burst by the time that thing was happening. Yeah. Bummer.
And now he's emphysema, doesn't he, as well? He hasn't retired,
he can't like leave the house. If he would direct anything, he would need to do it remotely.
John Carpenter style.
Oh yeah.
Directed him on TV. Sorry.
It's like we got a $2 dono from Fungus Finder. Wait, I asked Darren's opinion on Basketball.
This is the Trey Parker, Matt Stone movie by the Zaz. Like, this is the only one that they didn't write or direct themselves, right? I have not seen this. I'm going to put my hands up. But I believe this is notable for being the only project they're involved in that they were not, they're not the key creatives on. And I think, was this an Abrams movie tying to the death of Abrams last week? The passing
J.J. Abrams?
No, the
Zucker bro.
The Zucker bro, the third Zucker bro.
Yeah.
I have not seen Basketball, I'm afraid.
Oh yeah, I didn't really. Directed by David Zucker.
Oh, sorry, apologies then. Yeah, I knew it was related to one of the Zaz's.
I only saw the movie once in theaters. I was a big South Park fan when it came out, and I hated the movie in theaters. I'm curious to watch it again because it's very possible. You know, I was 11, I think, when I saw it, so it's very possible that some of it just didn't land for me. But yeah,
also presumably a very different sensibility if it's Zucker as opposed to Trey Parker and Stone.
Yeah. I think I was going in being like, oh, this is like a live action baseball version of South Park.
Yeah, because they have like they're holding the balls like their testicles on the poster. I remember.
Yeah,
this is why I was kind of turned off by it. And then it's like, no, it's directed by the guy who did like Jane Austen's Mafia.
Yeah,
this is a little funny thing. Apparently, in response to a negative Ebert, Parker and Stone named South Park's second season's 11th episode, Roger Ebert should lay off the fatty foods. Jeez.
Yeah, that sounds like something they were doing then.
I mean, to be fair, Clint Eastwood killed off Pauline Kael in the Deadpool. Like
that is true.
There's a good, and then Ebert got, I think, did he get eaten in Godzilla, in the American Godzilla? Mayor Ebert.
Oh yeah,
He didn't get eaten. He didn't.
Yeah.
That was Ebert's big complaint, was that the evil mayor character called Ebert, who had a best friend called Gene, didn't get eaten, and Ebert was like, if you're gonna do it, commit to it.
The most important thing, which I didn't realize until now, it was because of David Zucker, who's from Milwaukee. Basketball apparently takes place in Milwaukee. So there you go.
Oh,
there you go.
Shouts to
Maybe if you squint, you can see a little Jack Packard in the background. I don't think that's true. Do you have anything else, Darren?
No, that's about it.
Lovely. I think that does it for us. What a fun little episode. What a great little trip down holiday movie memory lane. Hopefully y'all got something to add to your queues. If not something already available, I definitely want to see Grand Theft Hamlet when it comes out. Looking forward to that. Jesse, what do you got going on? What should folks check out in your neck of the woods?
Let's see here. Let's see. Got the animal Q&A, which should go up sometime relatively soon. With the next couple weeks.
Animal not Animal the Muppet.
Yes.
I feel like
Unless
an Animal
the
Q&A
Muppet
would be
was
less
there.
constructive. Yeah.
Animal, the video game. Finish that edit. And Battle Masters, the holiday episode, should be coming out relatively soon as well. Very fun one. A lot of messes made.
Yeah.
A lot of friends, a lot of enemies.
Yeah. You know how I found out I didn't win? It was in a meeting when Jack said the winner already knows they won, and I was like, "Oh dang!"
Maybe that was like a believe in yourself thing. Maybe it was like one of those things where it's like the winner knows in their heart that they won.
No, I think he said the winner's already recorded their video, and I was like, "Well,
okay.
I definitely didn't do that." I'm excited. As long as I didn't do worse, then I'm happy. That's my only goal in every one of these is to not be the worst.
Gotta watch. I got the scores right here on a piece of paper. I won't say anything.
Coming not in first, me. But I'm excited. That should be, I believe the plan is this Monday. This upcoming Monday. There was some talk of the 23rd, but I believe the current plan is this Monday. Heck yeah. Darren, what do you got going on? You just had a new backdrop come out.
We did indeed. Myself and Omar dropped one about like the Skeleton Crew, which is the new Star Wars show, which is primarily just a vehicle because Christmas is coming up and because in conversation with Nick, it seemed like something people might be interested in hearing. Mm-hmm. It's a talk about like the peculiarities of trying to talk about a show like Skeleton Crew or any of Disney's big franchise shows in the way that they release and package those for media consumption, where generally speaking, these are 8-hour movies that have been carved up into chunks, and it's very hard to review or talk about those seriously when you're only given 2 or 3 chunks. And it's a very much a peeking behind the curtains. I guess it's an appropriate thing coming up to Christmas. But so I'm really, really proud of it. It turned out phenomenally well, as they tend to do when Omar or Jesse are editing them. So I'm really, really proud of that. And obviously wrote a couple of pieces over the weekend for the Patreon as well, looking at like the importance of TV in September 5th and Saturday night, along with the dueling Prince Andrew interview movies, which is a thing that happened this year apparently, and then obviously another piece on Skeleton Crew and one on Creature Commandos, which is one of the pleasant surprises of the late year for me.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet. That all dropped at once?
Yes, no. Creature Commandos dropped a 2-episode premiere and then it's going weekly. I've seen.
Okay.
They screen the entirety of it, but 2 episodes and then it's airing weekly through the middle of January.
Gotcha. I'm also curious to watch. It just dropped today, and I didn't get any screeners for it. But the first half of it dropped today. But that Secret Level, the Amazon short film series of based on video games, that dropped, I think, like an hour before we went live. So I think 7 of them are out today, and the rest of them are out next week. And it's gotten kind of. I've seen some reviews pretty positive on some of them. It's an anthology, so hopefully there's something there to enjoy. And some of them are pretty short, so. I'll jam through those. Maybe we'll talk about those at some point this week or next week on Firelink, since we won't be back here on Rewind until the new year. Yeah, we'll probably be back. I imagine Tuesday the 7th. We'll try to be back because that's our first week back at work in the new year. So we'll be back then with all sorts of stuff we've been watching over the holiday break. Hopefully, some of those Oscar contenders are finally available to more of us, and we can chat about some of those. And secret level stuff should be fun.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And there's a new Christoph Waltz movie called Old Guy. I'm just seeing in my email now.
Old
Guy. Old Guy. That's the title. That's the title and the premise. It seems Christoph Waltz is Old Guy.
Oscar Cooper Hoffman. He's a young guy. He's a young guy.
Maybe that's Old Guy's arch nemesis. What a world!
This just looks like his fucking his version of the what's the Bob Odenkirk?
The Nobody, like Jerry action films. Yes.
Yeah, Jerry action films. Holy shit, that's really good. Wow, I'm kind of taken aback. I'm taken aback by how much I like that. That's the best new genre since biopic. Thank you so much, everyone watching on YouTube, everyone listening on your podcast service of choice, anyone watching the VODs. We appreciate you. Thank you for thanks for tuning in with us every other week. Who knows? Maybe next year we'll try to do these more often. But for Jesse and Darren and Eric, this was Marty, and for other Jesse too, who is currently getting his teeth cleaned. This was Marty. Thank you all so much for watching. Stick around in little under 90 minutes, 3:30 Central. Jack and Jess will be back. They'll be doing Liza P today because Jack is going to be traveling on Thursday. So tune in for that. And
Jack and Jess went up a hill to play some Liza P.
Oh no, I'm worried about the end of this limerick.
Yeah,
the first half of limericks are always so nice.
It ends on P as well. It limits your options. Yeah.
Oh, no. Tune in for that. But thank you all so much. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesdays, and we'll see you bright and early in the new year. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.